estimate this appears to be a linked, 100,000 bots linked that are all acting in concert, and just say, expose them essentially. But those software tools need to be written, and they have not yet been written. But they will be.
It's kind of
And on a similar,
I have written those tools, so I can give them to you.
Right, Elon, wouldn't it be easier if you were able to use some form of two-part authentication in order to ensure that the individual...
You've dropped out, Ian. You've dropped out, Michael. Oh, you're back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Elon, would it not be easier to just use some form of two-part authentication to ensure that the individual is who they say they are?
Yes. Now that, so this is part of what's the game plan with the sort of blue verified thing, is that right now it is there are problems on many levels. It's too cheap to have a bot. So and even a troll, like it's not just that somebody's operating a bunch of 10,000 instances of Twitter accounts, in a bank of PCs. It's like you can have a warehouse with, and there are many parts of the world, like warehouse where there's just banks of phones. So they actually are operated by people. The challenge right now. So the challenge is actually, you have to make it more expensive to have bots and trolls. It can't be like,
it's like a guy sitting in front of 8 phones, right? That's just how they operate.
Exactly.
So
it's like
the farms are guys sitting in front of 8 phones.
There's like.
Well, unfortunately, the disinformation budget for the CIA for these NAFO bots is over $100 million. I mean, even if you throw $8 per month per account in front of them, it's not. Is that really going to stop them?
Not the $8. If it was purely a question, then I think they could overcome a budget challenge. But also then having to have a huge number of phones and a huge number of credit or debit cards, these all amplify the difficulty. And then having, if you want to do it such that that you can't find any connection between 100,000 phones and 100,000 credit cards and 100,000 authenticated phone numbers, that's very difficult to do. Just the logistical difficulty of that is extremely high. So it's more like we need to process some amount of money through the payment system in order to piggyback off the authentication of the payment system. So $8 is kind of like a random number, obviously. But there's another thing that has to be accomplished simultaneously, which is that Twitter cannot be like so heavily dependent on advertisers. So this is an attempt to kill two birds with one stone, which is build a source of revenue that is not advertiser dependent, so the advertisers do not have too much sway over what happens on Twitter, and also use the payment system as an additional means of identifying and stopping large-scale manipulation of the system.
And just to add on to that, when you have a lot of users
just
signing up, their advertisers are going to realize that these are real people, right? They're all verified individuals. So that will make them want to advertise on the site. So it's win-win-win, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, can I ask a quick follow-up to my question? Would you mind? Elon, I'm just...
Okay, I have to just stop this for a second because everyone is talking over each other. Elon just made a really important point, which is that he has more freedom to do what is good for his users if he is less dependent on advertisers. So there's a large group of people here. I think everyone who appreciates what Elon is doing for us right now in this fight for freedom of speech should support him. And the best way you can support him is to become a subscriber at Twitter. You're using this great service all the time. If you want him to have more power and more freedom to achieve these goals for us, well, make that $8 a month investment. I think it's really worth it.
The price of a latte.
Did Elon already say when he plans to reinstate the verification, the $8 verification process?
Yeah,
Elon, you're muted.
Elon, you're
just in
muted. Yeah, I was
case.
going to tell you because Kim muted everyone.
Oh, sorry. It seems to sometimes mute me, I guess. Yeah, so I think we're probably about a week away. Maybe basically this coming week we should be able to restart the verification process.
Will it be global or is it just the US still?
Actually, I'm going to discuss that with the team. So this time for verification, we're taking some additional steps where one has to be phone verified with a known good carrier, a known good phone carrier, and we're also will offer people the opportunity, if they want, to do ID verification, kind of like what Airbnb does, similar thing, and they do that all around the world. And then you'll be able to look at an account and say, this account is payment verified, it is verified, it is ID verified, optionally, and also to establish organizational affiliation. Do you actually have affiliation with this organization? And providing organizations with the ability to define to state which set of users are affiliated with that organization. So, like, are you actually a professor at Stanford, or are you actually, for example, a reporter at the New York Times or whatever, or an employee of PepsiCo or whatever it is? So, just generally to have granularity and nuance to what verified means, as opposed to the sort of like grab bag of nonsense, which has been the past blue verified situation, where you could have been an intern at Mashable 10 years ago, and now you've got blue verified, and it's kind of crazy. And then they were also just being traded constantly. You just buy a verified badge. So you can't actually tell if something is blue for legacy blue. You can't tell if that is a legitimate situation, a crypto scam, whether they're actually you don't know because there's no granularity to it. And there's
a way to buy them off of Google right now. Like you can literally Google verified accounts and they sell them for like $200, $500 or something, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's not like blue It's not like you have to go to the in quotes dark web to buy blue verified. You can literally Google search it and it's on page 1 of the Google search results if you want to buy a legacy blue verified. So it's just basically it's just the legacy blue verified is a corrupt garbage pile. And so we need to move forward with something that gives granularity and detail and nuance about the nature of the verification, so that you can actually trust what you see.
Elon, you said some really admirable things about freedom of speech and your commitment to it and its role in the future of humanity. You didn't answer the question about supporting protesters in China and Iran. Is there freedom of speech for Chinese people important
it's already
for the future of
banned
humanity?
in China. Just so you know, like Twitter is inaccessible in China. You need a VPN, so it's kind of a pointless question.
So you don't think making it accessible for Chinese or Iranian protesters?
It doesn't matter.
No, but no, it's not Elon. It's not Elon blocking it. Tommy, you had a question, Tommy?
That was Tommy.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Tommy.
That was Tommy. Yeah, he was wrong.
Can you address the question of the freedom of speech at Sebastian Gorka here? Because a lot of people are confused that it's a First Amendment issue, what was dumped by Matt Taibbi. The First Amendment concerns government suppression. So anything that happened before January the 20th isn't First Amendment unless it was the Biden administration afterwards. So for those who think that, we've got the smoking gun and they don't need to wait for anything else, could you address that issue, Mr. Musk?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, actually, there are issues if there's election interference before the government, because you know um, that is, I think, an issue. It's certainly uh, Twitter. It would appear that Twitter falsely claimed that there was not election interference, but it would. But it
Right, but
appears that
that
is.
has to do with in-kind contributions. That's a very different kind of thing, and it is criminal. But can you tell us if there will be more smoking guns coming?
Yeah, I think there will be more smoking guns, because the obvious next question is, well, what happened after the election?
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So, I mean, that's probably the right thing for episode 2, is what happened after the election.
And how long do we have to wait for episode 2?
I don't know. I'll check with Matt.
So
Hey, Elon, can I ask a
Imagine
quick
very well.
go ahead.
follow-up based?
Yeah, Will, just quickly. Will, go ahead. Will.
Thank you, Elon. Apologies if you addressed this earlier. I appreciate how long you've been on this call. What subjects outside of Hunter Biden, by the way, this is Will Kane from Fox News, what subjects outside of Hunter Biden were subject to the most government-induced censorship?
As I said, you may not have heard my earlier comment, but I don't actually, like I said, me personally, I've been working on getting Twitter to be healthy and fixing the engine of engineering. I've not been sort of poring over the Twitter files personally. That's sort of been, Matt Taibbi is doing that, and Barry Weiss is going to do it now as well. Um, so anything I say would be somewhat of a, guesswork, really. But so I don't know. There's obviously a lot of questions around Jan 6th. There's questions around, COVID. Uh, there's a lot of questions, but I think the important thing is that we just get, bring daylight to all of these things, and so anything that Twitter has done, and sometimes things, a lot of times Twitter's done things that were just not. It wasn't malicious. It was just foolish. Um, so the things that are
Yeah, like the nuking people for NPCs, right? For posting NPC memes, thousands of people were banned.
Yeah, exactly.
From just a quick question, with the companies that stopped advertising on Twitter, which I think most of us agree is just not right, has there been any progress since? Have you been in discussions with them? And what are some other strategies to bring in revenue so we depend less on advertisers?
You can hear this. This is Eric Bowling again. I was wondering if you have any knowledge or you can have any proof that there's some indication that a lot of people on the right side of the political aisle lost a ton of followers. I would say from 2015, 2016, all the way through towards the end of 2021. I'll give you anecdotally myself. I lost 80,000 or so, and not until this is literal. Not until you purchased Twitter did I start gaining followers again in a fairly robust manner. Is there any proof of that? Do you have any evidence of that being sort of a plan or a strategy on Twitter's part?
Again, like I said, I have not read the Twitter file, so it's difficult for me to say that. Except, so my understanding is limited, and that's why I would leave it to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss and ultimately others. But if I say what is my best guess is that there was a very different standard applied to Republican candidates in the U.S. versus Democrat candidates. So there appears, and I emphasize appears, I'm not saying this is definitely the case, there appears to have been a double standard where Democrats were not censored and left causes were not censored, but right causes and Republicans were. And I think this is frankly obvious to anyone who uses Twitter without any expose of Twitter files. It was not even-handed, and it's frankly the behavior that is to be expected from an organization that is based in San Francisco, which is far left. So, from their standpoint, it wouldn't seem like that they're being unfair. That from their standpoint, it's simply how they see the world. I mean, I think Matt posted like political contributions of Twitter being over 99% Democrat. So, well, what kind of viewpoint would you expect people to have then? It's the behavior you would expect from a company that is essentially a distillation of San Francisco politics.
And I hope that
By the way,
when you
just
the
really
information
quick. By the
politics,
way,
you know,
I want to
sorry,
make a
I have a question.
suggestion. I want to make
Yeah.
a suggestion real quick. Elon, when you are speaking, we can hear you really well. When you are listening, the background noise from your jet is interfering a little.
Okay, sure.
Can you just mute
He
yourself
needs
when you
an
are not
EV jet.
speaking?
Yeah. So anyway, I have a question. Like, so when
Will
you're,
do.
making the files available to everybody, or rather more people, I would just like to request that I don't know, give it to me because I work for Rebel News, and I think we could do a tremendous job covering this as much as anybody else, really. Yeah.
So
But
so Tim Cass is trying to come up, by the way, Elon, just to ask you a question. But in the meantime, I just want to go back, and I know the Persistence has a question as well. I'll give you the mic right after Persistence. But one question again, back to the advertisers, Elon. Not sure if you heard it before. Any progress there with the advertisers that stopped advertising on Twitter, which we all agree is just not right, and any other strategies to bring revenue outside of advertising? You're muted, Elon.
Yeah, so I mean, so Apple has fully resumed advertising, which is appreciated. Apple is the single biggest advertiser on Twitter, and historically and presently. So, thanks Apple for fully resuming advertising. And I think we're seeing we are starting to see a lot of other advertisers also resume their spending. I think the problem is that they would read all these stories in the media and then think that they were true, and they're not true. And then as it's becoming clear that the media stories about Twitter being some sort of like right-wing hellscape, which it absolutely isn't. And in fact, it is. There are far fewer bots, far fewer trolls, and it's actually, I think, way more fun and interesting. And we're seeing that in the user minutes and in the daily average users. Then advertisers are like, oh, okay, I guess maybe it is safe to get back in the water, and so we are seeing advertisers resume advertising on Twitter. So that's a good sign. I wish it would be faster, but we are seeing them resume. The more concerning factor on the advertising front is just the entire industry-wide drop in advertising, which Twitter is not immune from. So even though advertisers do get back on, the advertising expenditures in general are dropping for all companies. And so it is imperative that Twitter have an alternate revenue source, hence the subscriber revenue, which is just very important for both of the survival and of Twitter, and to reduce its dependence on advertisers. So yeah, overall, I think I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. Yeah, so
And
yeah,
I want to.
yeah.
I'll add one point of credit. Like I have no stance. I have nothing against the old executives at Twitter, etc. But very objectively speaking, what you've done in a month, and again, that's purely being objective. What you've done in a month is fucking insane. The amount of progress that you've had and where Twitter is at now in such a short period of time. So not that you need more credit because you're getting a lot here, but I just want to add to it as well. I'll give the mic to the Persistence, who's been waiting for a while, and then Spike. Go ahead, Persistence.
Well, thank you, Elon, for making this a popular social media. My question is, do we have any information on advertisers threatening to pull money from Twitter if Twitter did not adhere to a policy? And additionally, do we have any information on congressmen or women who have threatened legislation should Twitter not adhere to a certain policy? And last, I was really intrigued by your comment on positivity and negativity in tweets, you saying that positive tweets would go further. And I just wanted to see what would constitute the measurement from Twitter that would make something positive or negative. Thank you.
You're muted, Elon. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, sure. Well, the advertisers, I mean, for the most part, the advertisers are quite rational in that, if you, especially if you're advertising a friendly product, that you don't want to be sort of, like let's say you're advertising a Disney movie, you don't want to have like some super negative um, sort of hate speech, or to the and also a movie or whatever. Um, and you also they don't want to have not safe for work content right next to you know ads for children toys and stuff like that. So that stuff is quite reasonable, and I agree with that. Advertisers have a right to have their advertising be next to non-advertising content that is consistent with their brand. Um, so that really just means like what is not attempting to monetize with advertising content that advertisers are uncomfortable with. Um, so I think in general it's been okay. I mean, I think there has been some overzealous action by activist groups that pressure the advertisers, that then in turn pressure Twitter, um, and we're trying to sort of, that I thought was somewhat unreasonable, but I think it's going to trend in a good direction going forward, but I'm not sure, but it looks like it's headed in a good direction. Like I said, advertisers are returning to Twitter. Apple's back at full ad spend, and I've had a number of conversations with the advertiser groups, and every time I've had those conversations, the advertisers have responded positively, and I've also just, because they're like, I mean, they're basically they end up reading the sort of mainstream media, and it's like, you know. And then they end up with all the wrong impressions of what's going on. And I said, well, have you tried using Twitter? Do you see these things for yourself? And they're like, actually, it seems fine when we use Twitter. Like, yes, that's because it is fine. And so then, and then I also tell them, like, look, as we try to grow Twitter's user base, if a new user comes on Twitter and then is immediately attacked by trolls and dumped on, they're going to want to leave. So, because who wants to go? It's like going into a party or something, and everyone just starts yelling at you. You're going to want to leave that party. So, Twitter does need to be a more welcoming environment for new users, and so the incentives are actually aligned. That if people come on and they see interesting, funny tweets, things that where they learn something new, or it's entertaining, it's funny, it's like, that's the kind of thing that we should see more of, and that's consistent with what most advertisers want, I think, and what Twitter wants in order to grow the user base, and then just generally over time, it's like kind of, people can be, I think, to some degree, choose what sort of experience they are like. Just like you can choose a radio station, like, some people want to listen to sort of smooth jazz, easy listening, or they may want to go to pop music, or they want to go to heavy metal thrash, and to each their own. Or if this was do you want to have like full contact martial arts, or do you want to have light contact, or do you want to do yoga? And you can decide which one of those, what kind of experience you want. That's going to be important in order to have Twitter appeal to a broad audience. So, yeah. So that's the rough game plan.
Tom, I'll let you.
Elon,
You've
you
got a
had
question, Tom?
mentioned, I just wanted to ask really quick. He had mentioned different color check marks for verification for different entities. Was that still going to be part of the new verification process?
Yeah. So again, like the goal is like to say, how do you convey to people using Twitter as quickly as possible and as clearly as possible what they're seeing. So there will be a gold check mark for commercial organizations, a gray check mark for government, and a blue check mark for verified individuals. Um, and then there will also be an organizational affiliation um, logo. So like next to your check, if you, let's say, a verified user, if you are a professor at Stanford and Stanford is participating in identifying who is a professor, then there would be like a tiny Stanford logo that would appear next to your blue check mark. So then as you're scrolling, it's like you can see, oh, this is actually a Stanford professor, or this person actually does work at Coca-Cola, and there's the clarity there.
Will there be a process for this to apply for an organization for, let's say you're a part of a small news organization and you want to apply for this status? Will it be available to the public, or is this something that's going to be very selective?
No, it will be available to the public. So it's sort of, so it's not going to be like an anointed set of companies. Now, there will be a strong policy against impersonation and deception. So if someone's attempting to deceive users, then their account will be suspended. So that's yeah.
I've got a question here. I'll give it to Tom, just by a pretty notable person that doesn't want to disclose their identity, but it's a simple question. By the way, anyone that has a question, you could DM me. The team is checking all the DMs. The question is plans for crypto Twitter payments, whether it's going to be like WeChat or whether you have plans at all.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hell yeah, Dogecoin to the moon.
Doge the moon.
Yeah,
I think we do want to have Twitter enable both regular payments and fiat currency, and make it easier to transact with crypto. Yeah.
Okay, I've got another question here from a big YouTuber as well. Elon, one of the first. So they're asking, they want to bring YouTube creators to Twitter. What's your plan with? What's your Twitter creator plan, if there is one?
Yeah. So, well, for video, we need to upgrade the Twitter system to be able to have longer video, and then enable creators to derive revenue from viewership, which is a combination of advertising and subscription. So these are obviously things that need to happen. Like I said, in order for these to happen, like you could have a wish list a mile long, but if the engine of engineering is not fixed, the wish list is so that's why I am focused on fixing Twitter engineering first and foremost. In the absence of that, you could have a wish. Whatever you wish for cannot be done because the engineering is not working.
Hey, I have a really great suggestion for you, Elon.
And right after Kim, I'll let Tom jump in right after you. Just Tom, sorry for delaying it so much. Go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
Yeah, you know how foreign media is labeled on Twitter often as like Russian controlled, state controlled media. Why don't we do the same thing in the US with all of these media organizations that are telling us go to war? This is all great. Like, why don't we label them as well, US government state media?
No, I think that's a good idea. Because it's like SBF gave so much money to different media organizations that and then they just write these puff pieces, and it's like, okay, we should be labeling that SBF affiliated media because it is. So, like, if you're going to write a puff piece about someone who gave you a ton of money, then the public should know that you maybe have a bias. So yeah, I mean, I think it should be if if something is taking direction from the state, then that information should be made clear to the readers. Like who really has editorial control should be clear, because that's all part of like trying to give users of Twitter the most accurate and truthful understanding of what's going on, and be able to calibrate what they read and see or hear on Twitter, to be able to calibrate the truthfulness as a function of where is it coming from, who is the author, who is controlling this from an editorial standpoint, and so then they can apply reasonable judgment in that case.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that would be a really good thing to level the playing field, because when you want to find out about what's going on in Ukraine and you get it from sources that are labeled in a certain way, and then the US news sources are not labeled at all, the problem with that is that people think this source is trustworthy and this source is not trustworthy. So if Twitter has labels like this, then they need to be applied fairly also against media that is clearly pro-war and clearly infiltrated by commentators from the intelligence community who are telling us all this bullshit about why we have to be at war.
I agree. I mean, this is the maximum truth is the truth still set you free. So, yep, I agree.
Tom, do you want to ask your question? I know you've been waiting for a while, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna have to
Elon.
sign off soon, so maybe just a couple more questions, and then I gotta go back to work here.
I'll let
I
Tom
just
jump in
throw
because
in
he's
here
been
very
waiting.
quickly, Elon?
Yeah,
you
just
are the timeline
just before,
disruptor,
guys.
and we appreciate keep innovating and keep creating. Thank you.
And Elon, I'll shot as. Go ahead, Tom. I'll let you ask your question, Tom, and then I'll jump in. Go ahead, Tom.
I don't think Tom's here.
Yeah, so I'll jump in, Elon. My question to you, because Tom's
not
working on his end. Well, it's actually a simple question. I'm gonna shoot my shot. If I can get a DM on Twitter, so I have a line of communication, and then I can try to get you on, convince you to join more spaces. So it's not a question. It's just giving it a shot on my end. I appreciate you joining again.
This is Tom again.
Yeah, Tom, go ahead, man. I said my word. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. This is Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch, Elon. Appreciate your public service and your transparency efforts here. My concern is, as the head of a watchdog group, is the government corruption in response, not only to what you potentially may uncover, but in response to what you're doing. And when you have the President of the United States from the podium celebrate his election victory by calling for a national security review of your activities, you have senators, focusing on you. You have other government agencies investigating you and your other businesses. Are you concerned, A, about the retaliation, and B, are you seeing evidence of it already?
You're muted, Elon.
Well, government is slow to act. So this is the thing about it that's important to appreciate about anything government related, is that they're not nimble; they are slow. So I think the actions that we'll see, and I think there probably will be some actions, will happen, but they'll happen slowly. And it's only been a month so far, but I would expect some. There's probably at least a few nefarious things that are in the works right now. I'd say it would be naive to assume that there are no nefarious things. And so I guess but I will just expose them on Twitter and see what happens.
Well, the most important thing, you don't have any suicidal thoughts, do you, Elon?
I do not have any suicidal thoughts. If I committed suicide, it's not real.
Bro, that was dark.
That was a good one.
Clay, I know Elon has to jump off, so maybe one more question or one or two. Clay, and then Ian, I'll let you end it, Ian, because you've done a great job asking questions earlier. Clay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Elon, this is Clay Travis with Outkick Fox News and radio show with Clay and Buck. You said earlier, and I think it's so important, that you were thinking about just letting everybody know when you get a governmental request to censor someone or take down tweets. What kind of process is in play there, and to what extent can that happen? Because I think you're right. The sunlight of the government being embarrassed when they're going after James Woods, for instance, would drastically reduce any attempts at censorship. What's the update there? What kind of time frame? And do you think that's able to be implemented?
You're muted, Elon.
I mean, as I said earlier, like Twitter will do whatever it is allowed to do within the boundaries of the law to be as transparent and open as possible. And even if we currently are, and I don't know this to be the case, but if we are currently constrained by the law, I think we will push to have the law modified to reduce those constraints, because I think we have to fight hard for free speech, which is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. So, I think you'll see the proof will be in the pudding, and in the coming months, I think you'll see dramatic improvements in the transparency and trustworthiness of Twitter. And I think hopefully you've seen at least some of that already, and it will get better, and I think it will get better in an accelerating way, provided I don't accidentally suicide myself, which I'm not going to do.
Elon, thank you so much for your time today. You have been such a blessing to join us, to give us your insights. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to make that poll for Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, please.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know what the public thinks of these two people and what they're fighting for.
Okay. I will do the poll, and I'll emphasize that I'm not making a judgment here. I'm just asking I'll do it right after this Twitter Spaces ends.
Just asking a question, right? Asking the public a question.
That's right.
Taking a poll. Yeah.
And final,
Elon. I'm not.
So I have a question. Okay.
This is just a question. I'm not.
Yeah. So I got a question, since this is the last one. What message do you have for all the haters and losers out there who are making fun of you or attacking Twitter? Said it was going to die like 4 weeks ago. What's your message to them?
Twitter is alive, baby. It's alive.
Hell yeah.
More alive than it's ever been.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Beautiful.
I look forward to the Tesla earnings call right here on Twitter with you, Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, I think it will work. I got the DM, so I assume the promise you made, Kim, and the promise you made, Taro, should go through. Elon, really appreciate you, and hope to see you again.
My DM, Mario.
Hope to see you back.
I got questions.
Hope to see you again soon, Elon. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
And for everyone in the audience, quickly, everyone in the audience, just check the pinned tweet as well. I've just got the next space as
Congratulations, guys. That was amazing. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just for everyone listening, the next space is above pinned tweet, so you can set your reminders there, just to before I forget. But fuck yeah, guys, that was everyone's muted. That was fucking insane. There you go.
Muted everybody.
But you should see the amount, guys. You should see the speakers that were trying to request to speak. My space was glitching like crazy. A lot of people are angry. But man, you can't imagine some of the names that wanted to speak.
Some people are mauling about me. To my knowledge, they're mauling about me on their timeline. They're like, "Why is Ian speaking to Elon?" I don't know. Don't be bitter. Don't be salty.
Why does Elon speak to you? I mean, Elon responds to you very often, Ian. He likes your commentary and enjoys what you have to say. So clearly,
I've got a question for you, Ian. I've got a question for you, and maybe other speakers could speak afterwards. Your biggest takeaways, because some people missed the entire Elon discussion. Mine is, I know it might sound silly, but when he talked about getting shot, etc., was joke, no joke. When we asked, is he worried in any way? That is probably something the media will probably eat up, because it's a pretty strong statement to make. So that's my biggest take from the space. What's yours, Ian?
My biggest take from the space is how engaging he was with the audience, with the public. I mean, he didn't put himself above anybody else. He was just like anybody else, trying to do the right thing. And like he has nothing but my support and admiration, because I think everybody should be like that, right? He's not in this for ego. He's not in this for money. He's in this because he wants to make the future better. Like, I mean, if you had any doubts about the guy, if you had any questions as to why he was doing this, does he want to control people? Does he want power? The answer is no, he doesn't. Like he has a vision for the future, and the vision is democracy. And I mean, that's something I think anybody can stand behind, right? This is going to benefit the largest amount of people in the world ever of any time. And we are living in a special time right now. There is no better time to be alive right now. This is the freest time. And it would be sad if it, went downhill, if it became, a tyranny again, because we've lived in centuries, millennia of tyranny. And we are at a precipice here where we can go back to tyranny, or we can, go to the stars and have freedom and democracy. And that is what he wants for us. And to me, that is inspiring. And for anybody to question that, to not even question it, but to attack it, it's like, I question you. You're standing on the wrong side of history.
I want to add as well, like, if you think he's doing it for any greedy reasons, and I'm very objective. No, look, he's even discussed, I think with Jack, I think there was leaked DMs from memory about decentralizing Twitter, or ways to decentralize Twitter. Like, this is the complete opposite of what any capitalist would want to do. So that's another point there.
It's like, he's like a guy who makes money so that he can use it, right? Not in the SBF kind of way, like, oh, I'm going to give it to Democratic Party officials or something. No, it's like, I make the money so I can do something good with it. And yeah, you make more money in the process, but so what? I mean, that's capitalism, that's reality, that's life, right? But he's using it for a good end.
It takes balls, even for a billionaire. It takes balls to do what he did.
$44 billion is it's like, it's larger than most countries.
In a month, $44 million, firing X% of Twitter, and then laying off most of the staff. And then, guys, whoever's unmuted, just mute.
He's hired more people. Keep in mind, he's hired people like George Hotz, who's amazing, right? He's like a legend in the programming community. He's hiring those people, and they're making Twitter this big platform, Twitter 2.0. It's going to be a better place, bigger place.
And then reinstating a lot of people, taking jabs at mainstream media, and now the leaks. It's like one thing after another. It's only been a month. It just takes guts, and that could either succeed spectacularly, or it could fail miserably. And at the moment, everything's pointing towards a pretty big success. Obviously, that's why we're all spending time on Twitter rather than other platforms. Like, I've stopped spending time on any other platforms.
I could be playing a video game right now, but you know what? I'm spending time on Twitter. It's the best video game in existence. It's true.
The persistence, go ahead.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Elon is leveling the playing field, that you don't have to have bags of cash anymore. It's not pay for play. I mean, it is, if you've got $8, but that's the genius behind it.
$8, yeah, price of a latte.
It's not going to be the advertisers who are calling the shots anymore. It's we, the people. And Kim said it best earlier, that if you care about free speech, if you want to support Elon, then that $8 is going to make sure that we, the people, are the ones with the say. And, to everyone saying that, democracy is so important. Well, there is nothing more democratic or populist than what Elon is creating with this social media. And having those blue check marks be available to all of us is going to, again, make sure that the playing field is leveled, so that you don't just have journos or organizations that are at the top of the higher echelon.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up. By the way, Elon is in the audience listening, so he's sucking in all the compliments.
Oh,
anyone that's requesting to speak, I'm trying to bring you up, and if it drops you again, just try again. It's glitching like crazy.
I can jump in.
Mario, if you don't mind, I would like to give us all a quick summary.
Please do.
So, what are the most important things that we've learned from this space? Right. Number one, Elon obviously wants to continue with his fight for free speech. Number two, he's made very clear that no government should be telling us what disinformation or misinformation is. It's not up to them to decide that. What's also important is that, the media, and he's made that quite clear, that has been trying to cover up the Hunter Biden story in order for their candidate that they wanted to push to succeed, that they are under fire now, that was wrong. And that's why their defense is now to attack Elon and to say that this is really not a big issue or a big story, which is obviously completely false. Elon also said that it's important for him, that he has more freedom to do the things that he wants to do, by not being dependent on advertisers that can easily be scared away, by, again, politics, by politicians, by political parties. So the best thing that we can do really to support him and give him the power to succeed in this fight for free speech is to become subscribers, I mean, let's just help this guy out by putting our money where our mouth is. We want him to succeed for all of us. So, let's give him this independence from advertisers, right? And then on top, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I was just agreeing with you. My bad.
Yeah. No, that's okay. And then, obviously he understands that there is a risk to him and his businesses, and for him to put himself in the firing line, basically, to try and make sure that humanity has freedom and has a future in which, any individual has a voice and anybody can thrive. It's important to acknowledge that, that he understands there's a risk even to his life potentially, and he is doing this not for profit, not for his ego, but because he is someone who likes freedom and who is fighting bullies and is for justice. So we just should just all acknowledge that. Anyone who had any doubt about why he bought Twitter should really just listen to the space. It's recorded. You can listen to it again, once we are off, and just listen to the genuine interest that Elon has and why he's doing it. So that's my 2 cents about it.
I think the problem with a lot of people is that they're so cynical. People are so cynical that they assume Elon is just as bad as anybody else, right? Because a lot of people in power, they make a bunch of promises, but they don't stick to it. Whereas Elon, when he makes a promise, he actually keeps it. That's the difference. And he takes full responsibility for every mistake that he does. That is quite unheard of, especially in a world where, executives will take a golden parachute and never admit fault. He's the one guy who doesn't do that.
I think that there are
go ahead, John, and then right after you, Evan, as well. I know you've been waiting for a while. Go ahead, John.
I got to say that I was a little breathless throughout this entire thing, not only to the comments by Elon, but also everyone in the audience. And that's my first point. We are seeing a coming of age of Twitter Spaces in of itself. When I saw the number go over 100,000, it's really establishing a certain gravitas and reality to this platform as a functional town square. So kudos to everybody, to the technical side and to the social side. Number one. Number two, Elon said something that I found very interesting, because he coupled free speech with commerce. And I can't quote him exactly, but he did say something about commerce is essential. And I think that harkens back to what's going on with the pay platform on Twitter and other aspects of driving commerce and conversely suppressing commerce. So I'll just chime in with those 2 comments and go back on mute. Thank you all for the opportunity.
That's a wonderful statement. I mean, that is spot on, right? Because you can't have freedom without commerce. Commerce is all about trade. And what is trade? It's the exchange of goods and services, and in this case, ideas between multiple people. So having commerce and free speech, it goes hand in hand. Without it, you basically have, dystopian communism or something. And to have that, I mean, he's like opposed to that, like diametrically. And Twitter is the embodiment of that. It's going to be the embodiment of that, where we'll have actual commerce. People will be able to trade ideas and trade goods and services. I love it personally.
Real quick, my tweet about if I commit suicide, it's fake, blew up on Twitter a little bit too. So I thought that was.
Who made that tweet? He did.
I did. John.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's a timestamp, and I put the date and the time, so it's a timestamp, and it's real interesting.
Go ahead, Evan. I'm going to check it out now, John, and retweet it. Evan, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. So good job on this whole Twitter space. I just had a point that's probably not the most popular one, but it's something that I think about all the time whenever I'm listening to, any sort of discussion on Twitter, on the internet. And the problem that I have is with free speech right now on the internet, it's really catered towards just definitive, concise statements and opinions. And I'm someone who's super logical. I don't have an agenda, and I agree and disagree partially with pretty much everyone that I hear that speaks. And it seems like there's not really a place for somebody like, that has that sort of mindset to talk, whether it's on Twitter or anywhere, because it's always very, black and white. And someone like myself either usually just stays quiet or turns to comedy. Comedy has that sort of like dark side of, you could see every truth for what it is, but there's not really a good like logical way to sort of express yourself in a formative way. It's always like whoever screams the loudest and is the most definitive gets the attention. And again, it's like me bringing this up is like kind of like might sound pointless in a discussion like this because it's not very definitive, but I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Ian, do you want to jump in on this one?
What was the question again? I was looking at Twitter.
Yeah, me too. I think we're all looking at tweets. Yeah, this is. I was doing the same thing. I was trying to find John's tweet. I just tweeted it myself, and I put the link to the space because I think it's a good tweet. So John, I stole your tweet, but I want to apologize live on space. But yeah, Evan, do you want to ask your question again, bro?
Yeah. I mean that
stealing is fine,
that almost
guys.
maybe proved my point of maybe it's not, this is something that isn't spoken about or maybe not cared about. But the problem that I have with free speech on the internet is that it caters towards very concise, definitive statements and opinions. And I'm someone who's very logical. I don't have, luckily I'm pretty comfortable with myself, so I don't have an agenda. And I agree and disagree with partially with everyone who speaks. And there's not really a place on the internet for someone like that to express themselves, other than maybe turning to something like, comedy, because comedy is sort of just, could agree or disagree with everything.
That's a very, now that I listen to it, it's just a very good point. That's something I'm battling with as well, because I made a tweet a while ago. Mainstream media is biased, yet social is full of echo chambers. So that's something I stand for as well, as being objective. And Kim knows this. Like, we always get debates going on, and like Spaces is offering that opportunity, and having places like this where you get different views coming together. Like, I've brought up people from the left, people from the right on stage today and in previous spaces.
I just think that there needs to be like a louder position for people like that. For people like that, it's just not as dramatic, and it doesn't seem as, I guess, purposeful compared to somebody screaming with a very strong opinion. But I think there's tons of people who think like me, and they just don't say anything because what's the point? Because you could disagree and agree with both sides, and you're just kind of like, this is, the easiest way for me usually is just to make fun of it and just turn to comedy and just, kind of think that the whole thing's ridiculous because you hear these people being extremists on both sides. But yeah, I don't actually
it's
don't
just
have a solution. I'm just curious.
No, look, I think one thing I've said is like, if everyone agrees with me all the time, then I'm not doing a good job. So it's just very important to have people disagree with you. And if I'm agreeing with everyone on stage, like even if Elon Musk says something I disagree with, I would actually say it. Like, I can't help myself and disagree.
I'm the same. Neural network, right? It's my neural network to disagree with somebody. If I just have to say it, it has to be done, right?
Yeah, it's just, but I think it's also against human nature. Like, it's so difficult to do. Like, I'm sure you'll agree, Ian and Evan and anyone else. Like, for anybody, it's really hard to contradict yourself and to change your mind. And I just don't know. Like, I'm gonna be a bit cynical here. Like, I don't know whether it's gonna be really difficult to fix the bias we're seeing in mainstream media. And even mainstream media, I'm not against mainstream media. And again, not all media is the same. It's not all one bucket and everyone's the same. Some are biased, more biased than others. But I just don't, like, we've got an opportunity to fix that bias with what's happening now on Twitter, and hopefully other social platforms will follow suit. But
I think the issue is that we need new blood, right? I mean, the mainstream media, what is the mainstream media? It's made up of individuals. You replace those individuals with better ones, and suddenly it's changed. It's changed the landscape, whether this means changing the C-suite people, the executives, or just the editors or the producers. I don't know, right? But what needs to happen is change needs to happen, and the mainstream media right now has stagnated to a point where, once it used to do journalism, now it does bias, it does propaganda, it does one-sided reporting, fake news, right, as Trump likes to say. And that needs to change. So you change the people, and suddenly the mainstream media is okay again. Maybe this means creating a new mainstream media, an alternative media. And I think Twitter as a platform is ripe for it, because we're seeing, independent journalists like Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi, they're growing, and they're going to be releasing the Twitter files later today. Keep in mind, that's what we're here for. And so it's exciting to see where this goes in the future. So there is no single dominant narrative. There's multiple narratives.
And since we've got the mic as well, I would urge anyone that has a podcast, anyone that has a show, anyone that does spaces, bring speakers you disagree with at all times, because you're going to naturally bring people you agree with. Force yourself in at least once a week, or at least in every space. Always bring people you disagree with. Every space I do, at least half the space, half the panel, I disagree with, or I try not to disagree with anyone, but at least some other panelists disagree with them. So I think if we do that, there needs to be a systematic change in how we are incentivized as people that spread messages, whether it's through mainstream media or Twitter Spaces. The incentives of mainstream media are skewed, chasing clicks and getting influenced by money and advertisers. Hopefully, the way that spaces are going to be monetized moving forward would alter the incentives in a way to allow for more, not only free speech, but free speech that's not echo chamber, that's more balanced as well.
Guys, and I think that maybe I agree. Like, spaces are a great way, or an actual discussion, not just definitive statements that are echo chambered, but also maybe a way that it's easily
without
accessible.
worrying about getting suspended. It's a very important change as well here.
But maybe, so guys, that's the biggest thing.
I just want to emphasize something real quick. Matt Taibbi has made a tweet 30 minutes ago that I think people should pay attention to. He says, looking forward to going through all the tweets complaining about PR for the richest men on earth and seeing how many of them have run stories for anonymous sources at the FBI, CIA, the Pentagon, and the White House. So I think everyone should read that story and amplify that tweet, because he's making an important point. These media organizations are pointing the finger at him for being a PR guy, when in reality, that's what they do all day, every day, for the government and for the intelligence community.
Oh, yes, they're mouthpieces. They are mouthpieces for the intelligence community. And of course, you go back to the 1970s when it was nefarious, where they would infiltrate newsrooms and no one knew that these people were inside of the news. That these people were exactly, that these people were inside newsrooms, and now they're just actively on the payroll. Let's go to General what's his name to get some insight now on this war update. Let's go to former CIA what's his name to get an update here, and of course they're all on the payroll now. Now it's just out there in the open.
Right. I just want to.
I can see, by the way, you've created, John. You've created a movement. I can see a lot of big names tweeting the same thing you did. If I tweeted it. I retweeted yours. If I committed suicide, it's not real. Everyone's tweeting it.
Everybody, it's great. A couple quick points. Number one, I think that we have to recognize that there's a new guiding principle that Elon has established here, and this is it: don't mistake intensity for hostility. He wants us to be engaged, to bring a solid point of view. So for me, he wants the debate, he wants the dialogue, he wants to hear the other opinions, and that echoes some of the people in this room today. So I would argue that's a guiding principle. The other one is first principles that we all know about, but first principles have another dimension, and that's truth. And that goes back actually to Aristotle and fundamental philosophical aspects of what drives humanity, the aspect of truth and beauty, actually. So I think we're seeing the emergence of these two fundamental realities come to life in a very, very, very interesting and robust way this evening.
Yeah.
Hey, Mario, I would like to make a suggestion to you real quick.
Tell me, Kim.
This was such an important space. Would you mind if we close this one and open it right again, because there will be a lot of journalists who will want to go through the audio and write stories for tomorrow, and I think we should give them the opportunity.
I've made it. I had a solution for it, Kim. because when you close it and you reopen it, a lot of the audience wouldn't join again. But I did something. The team did record it. So any journalist that wants a recording, there was a separate device recording the entire space. So we can send you the recording of Elon speaking. So anyone, any journalist, just DM us as we did before, and we can send you through the recording so you can go through it. Because we had that issue with the SBF thing, Kim. Journalists were going crazy because we did the space for like 10 hours and they wanted the recording. So since then, so I had to close the space then. So since then, we just record it on a separate device.
Is it possible for your team to just tweet out a link to that recording? I mean, there are many hosting sites.
We'll have them upload it and post it now. I'll get them to do it now.
Fantastic.
Good point, Kim.
Great. Thank you.
Any other insights, guys? Because I know it was a long discussion with Elon. Go ahead.
I just want to jump back in that one tweet. The most dangerous censorship isn't speech; it's the control and manipulation of commerce. And I think that is, you so well articulated that it's the free exchange of commerce, but that's cognitive as well as functional. So I think that's a really interesting little tidbit that came out of here. Thanks again for the opportunity to contribute, guys. I very much appreciate it.
It was an insane space, and that's like I've had a whole bunch of people here. I've had Elon before, and that's probably my highlight to date. Michael, what's your biggest take from this? And then Evan.
Hey, how's it going?
I'll let you, Evan, go
first,
ahead, man.
I've had a nagging thought that I might have inadvertently interrupted while the room was on, so I apologize if so, or maybe I'm just hallucinating. But this is actually my first
hallucinating.
Okay, good.
You're hallucinating. You're hallucinating.
Okay, good. Yeah, one thought that I had that I'm sort of curious to hear others react to is, as I was listening to Elon, I have sort of competing instincts because on the one hand, yeah, I'm a journalist, I'm a journalist sort of a different vein than most, but still I have like journalistic instincts that are kind of my operating principle. And so from that standpoint, I do think it's healthy and even required to sort of maintain a bit of, maintain critical distance from him, or like be skeptical, rationally skeptical of him. After all, he is extraordinarily powerful, right? And I think, that's still warranted. But at the same time, as I'm listening to him, I can't really think of a well-founded reason to doubt his sincerity or doubt that he's being sincere when, for example, he says that he was impelled to buy Twitter because of some sort of nebulous intuition he had about the betterment of humanity and the advancement of consciousness. I could see a cynical interpretation of that being, that's just kind of nonsense. He's just, pontificating and it's all like raw profit motive, but that doesn't seem like it would make sense at all if that's what he was solely interested in. So I guess I don't have like a fully formed conclusion here. I'm just sort of wondering what people think of that.
Yeah, I want to add to it. I think it's a very good point you made. By the way, can anyone check when the next drop is? Season 2 of the leaks. I think everyone's waiting for that, so we can cover it live. So I think Tara, you're the queen of this. So you can just interrupt us when you see a drop by Elon or Matt or whoever the person's tweeting it. But yeah, just to add to your point, Michael. I want to agree with you. Like I disagree with a lot of things. If anyone doesn't disagree with anything that Elon ever said, then there's something wrong with you. You can't agree with someone 100%, or you can. It's very rare. But I just cannot find any reason to, like, I try to challenge myself. Like maybe Elon's doing these things for another reason, or maybe there's an agenda, blah, blah, blah. And then just the actions, all of them just don't point in that direction. So like, whether you agree or disagree with Elon, I think there's, objectively speaking, his actions are heading in the right direction, to say the least. And again, that's coming from a very objective perspective, not as a fanboy, at least not from me. Not sure about you, Michael.
Even earlier this week, it's funny because I tweeted a screenshot of Twitter's content moderation policy circa 2015, which was incredibly bare bones compared to what it is now, where it's gotten, absurdly bloated and is infused with all this jargon and sort of like therapeutic moralism nonsense. And I thought to myself, hey, like, let's just plug it into the Twitter URL into the Wayback Machine. Look at what the policy was in 2015, just as I just sort of picked it out of the air. And sure enough, it seemed like a much more rational policy than is the case today. Basically just all that's prohibited strictly is direct personalized threats of violence, and there also is a targeted harassment component there that's a little bit more ambiguous, but even so, it's so much more simplified than the current policy. So I just put it out there saying that this would be considered fascist today, and Elon actually of his own accord replied to it, said it was a good. Seemed like it was. He said that it seemed sensible to him, and I don't know. I just when I see stuff like that, when I see him engaging for however long he did tonight, with a seemingly unfiltered sort of stream of people, none all of whom are going to be necessarily friendly to him. I don't know. I can't help but think that there has to be some undercurrent of genuineness there that is worth not being totally cynical about. Even when Kanye got banned this week, which was not the most pleasant thing. I was a bit wary because I just couldn't tell what the principle was. I mean, what was it? Just an arbitrary sort of ad hoc discretionary thing because they don't have the full rules settled yet? I don't know. It's hard to say. So it seemed like maybe a deviation from what I would have thought would have been done under his tutelage. But even in light of that, I mean, you could see how maybe it's not the craziest thing to have had to have made sort of a an ad hoc sort of intervention like that, and it's like almost so that's what I thought of when he was saying, look, like the overall trajectory, even if it's iterative, even if it's in fits and starts, is toward a particular end that ultimately seeks to advance human consciousness. And I'm not that's not like my lingo that I would necessarily most naturally use, but I kind of get the gist, and it seems sincere enough to me.
I want to see who's. Just some people are telling me the stage only has 3 speakers. I could see a lot more. Kim, Tara, are you with me? Ian, are you with me, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, but my app is completely glitched, so
Yeah,
still
me too.
quite
Tara,
confused.
you're with me, Tara? Says your co-host.
I don't see
Tara, no.
co-host abilities. Oh yeah, I do
Okay.
now. Oh, it just
I'll try to.
updated.
Perfect. Perfect. Ian, are you with us? Let's do a check on who's here. Ian is glitching out. Clayton, Evan is here. Perfect.
Yeah.
Clayton, Will, and the persistence. Are you there? And Trevor. All right, it's glitching for all of them.
Yeah, I'm here.
Has
All
Eric
right, cool. Trevor's here.
Eric Finman had an
Persistence here.
opportunity to
Perfect.
speak yet, Mario?
Not sure who you're referring to because I can't see them on stage. I'll let you give them the mic because I can't see them on stage.
Thanks, Tara. I appreciate it. This is Eric Finman, Vinco Ventures here. But yeah, that was one of the best Twitter Spaces I think that's ever been on here. And the amount of speakers that we had, particularly the Tara, the Persistence, Kim.com. I mean, just in Gorka, incredible. Tom, incredible group. And I have to say, I just find it absolutely funny. Tommy Viator, if I'm butchering his last name, came up on here and had the audacity to just China's literally banned Twitter, and he's like, what are you doing for free speech in China? It's like,
Oh,
they
was that
literally
him
banned
asking
it.
that
It's crazy.
question about what are you going to do to help Iran and China?
Yep, that was him.
Oh,
That was
okay.
him.
Well,
And
that
it's just
adds
like,
some context.
it's just the most hilarious thing. And I saw he just tweeted, they just all these crazy right wing people shut me up. It's like, no, it's like, check your facts beforehand, But anyways, it just was, I think, one of the best spaces with, incredible speakers. So, thank you, Tara. Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I had to
Thank
move
you,
some
Eric.
people down
Just a
because
couple months ago, the media was saying, naming all these other things that Elon should be doing with his $44 billion, if you don't remember. And now they're saying, well, now that you've taken Twitter, now what can you do? Now free Iran and China and let them have access to Twitter. Unfortunately, that's not up to Elon Musk.
Right, that
Literally.
Elon Musk should spend 44 billion to eradicate world hunger, and we just literally lost $20 billion in Ukraine. We can't find it under the bed, the couch cushions. Like it's that's Elon Musk's responsibility.
Yeah, that's Tommy. That's Tommy Viator trying to impose this messianic sort of conceit on Elon Musk, because that pretty much was the conceit in the pre-Musk Twitter regime, right? They had these designated employees that were focused on human rights. Now, why does Twitter need a human rights bureau? I don't know, but they had it. and that seems to be some of the fat that Elon trimmed. And so, but it doesn't surprise me that Tommy Vietor is trying to like make it seem that oh my God, Elon Musk is this opponent of human rights, or he doesn't want to stand up for the people of Iran and China, as though like he can single-handedly impose regime change or something.
Well, that's what was so interesting to me. Sorry. That was what's so interesting to me, that it was like when I saw these departments, like the UN Twitter Relations Department or something like that. Like I was like, wait, I didn't even know these existed. I mean, it was insane.
Hey guys, just a couple minutes ago, Elon did make a tweet saying just a note to thank advertisers for returning to Twitter. And I think that, goes to show you how much what you guys say here matters. So he went and tweeted that out. If you guys want to go retweet him and comment and like it. And honestly, I'm going to make more of an effort to engage with promoted tweets too, just to show advertisers like it's paying off.
Yeah, that's the thing that I took away from it on an advertising and a marketing perspective, because he did mention the fact that due to the the $8 subscription fee, a lot of revenue is coming from that instead of just advertisers. So it kind of gets it opens Twitter's hands to allow them to do things like free speech, because all these social media apps, their only revenue is mainly from advertisers, so they kind of have their hands tied. So I'm just looking to see how that's going to change on this platform now that they don't have to worry about that being the only section of revenue as a company.
I've got a question before we go to other speakers. Tara, do you know, as the queen of the leaks, when the leaks are going to happen?
Honestly, I thought that they may have, been planned sort of around when yesterday's were released, but I don't know.
I heard it was 5
Is there any way to get
p.m.
Matt?
Yeah,
is there any way to get Matt in here? Does anyone have a connection to Matt?
It'd be great. I'll see if I can ping him as well.
Yeah,
if anyone has,
he's following me. I'll ask him to join.
Perfect. Thanks, Kim. Go ahead, Persistence. Sorry.
When it comes to drops, I just quote Elon and just say 40 minutes until drop. But I thought it was very interesting that, we always talk about foreign interference, and in terms of the 2016 election, it was all about Russian interference. But I thought it was very intriguing how Elon mentioned that the possibility of having United States sponsored media as well. And I think that's very important that we also recognize, some of these nefarious acts are not just foreign, but they're coming domestically. And we saw that from the drop last night. That was based on the Dorsey Twitter regime, that we had the interference coming from within our own walls. And I think that transparency is going to bring about more credibility, not only to Twitter, but giving people more information to know who is receiving money and who is bought and paid for and who actually is doing things genuinely and authentically.
I would love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, but to me, it has to extend beyond print journalism. And I think when CNN shares a clip of their interview with General Petraeus, well, where is he coming from suddenly out of the blue? That, and putting out this narrative about Ukraine suddenly pops up out of the woodwork. Like, where is that coming from? How did he suddenly? And so then that becomes shared. And so it's, to me, it just can't be print. I would love to know from a video perspective. And that was one of the things that really stood out to me too, about what Twitter's going to do for video creators and long form video, and to really make Twitter a place where we know what's happening with YouTube and the censorship. I mean, we've been banned and demonetized and blocked, and in a constant battle with their terms of service and what you can and cannot say under, with their ever-changing terms of service. So to be able to have a platform where you can share and have stuff called out and called attention to, and would be really, really powerful.
It's glitching for a lot, guys. So anyone that can't come up, it's glitching. So I do apologize. Go ahead, Asha, and then Evan. Asha, go ahead. Hussein?
Yeah,
hey,
thank you.
How are you?
Hey, good. Killer space. I mean, I think that's the best Elon space. Everybody can agree. He was so engaged, and everybody had really, really powerful questions. So I think some of the takeaways here are that Ian had a really masterful question. You know, what spurred him to go ahead and acquire Twitter? And I think that that's so big, he had trouble articulating it. But I think that it's kind of a delicate subject. You know, I mean, we all know people that, you know, may have been engineers, Twitter before. You know, we don't want to offend anybody, but the fact is, it was an unsustainable business model. It had been going on that way for a long time. You know, as Price, Dan had said, you know, that they were bleeding 4 million a day. By the way, Kim, that was awesome how you clipped him on that. But I think that it's clear to see that Elon has genuine betterment of humanity. Like his pursuits, his intentions are pure. You know, I think that's pretty clear. So I think that he saw that the platform that is Twitter, the engine that is Twitter, I mean, 273 million, you know, active users a month, that's too important to not give it the life raft that he did. So I don't think he has it all figured out yet. But now he's in a place where he can, you know, we can start and, like he said, you know, kind of attain some health to it. What I think that means to support him, you know, we have to achieve multiple scalable paths of revenue. So of course, subscriptions. You know, I mean, I'm not going to beat everybody over the head to go ahead and do it, but I think that there's merit there. And also the big thing is advertising, or something that accomplishes advertising but doesn't look like advertising. And this is absolutely achievable. I think there's a better way to do it than sponsored posts. I think that there's a way to do what you would call immersive brand experiences with long form content when we get there, and with spaces. I mean, look at the millions of spaces that are happening every day. And now there's playbacks. I mean, so I come from startup. I was on the advertising side, and I worked with actually a competitor to Twitter, Twitter payments. I'm sorry, Square Register. I was a founding member of Breadcrumb, and one of the things that we worked on was all these kinds of things. But on the payment side, I think that you can involve brands and allow a path natively within Twitter to opt in for purchase. I think that might be what he's talking about with Twitter X, the everything platform. But again, I think that there's options for brands to get involved in spaces in a way that doesn't look like advertising.
The Twitter X, has that been confirmed in any way, or was it just dropped in a random meeting? How much do we know about Twitter X? Because I haven't looked into it.
Well, so Elon's been talking about that for a while. I think that he's been a little bit, like, you know, soft approach about it. But I mean, PayPal, before PayPal was PayPal, it was X. And I think that, I mean, he's mentioned it on Twitter. You know, we can look it up like a number of times, but he has said most recently that Twitter X, or X, will be the everything platform. So I think that that's the goal. I think that he's trying to pursue the most linear paths to revenue to get there, but it would be an all immersive experience. So, you know, you can play, you can order, you know, you can call, you can WhatsApp.
I've got a question for you, Aisha. By the way, if anyone has a hand up, you can just jump in, because I can't see hands up. It's glitching like crazy. And I'm trying to bring up Ian and a few other speakers that dropped. But a question for you: what would you say is a weakness that Twitter has right now? One, I'd give you one, like advertising, the dependence on advertisers. But obviously, Elon is, you know, dealing with this pretty well by the looks of it. Any, you know, the issues with the EU regulators in terms of you know, managing content, the current profitability of, or lack of profitability at Twitter. So there's 3 examples I can think of. Anything you would consider Achilles heel for Twitter right now?
I think that these are all challenges. I think that one of them could turn into an Achilles heel if he doesn't get a better handle on a bigger path to revenue. And again, I think that the damning word is advertising. There's reliance on it. If he can get around advertising, if he can deliver,
but how? Like he's not the only social platform. Twitter's not the only social platform trying to move away from that dependence.
of
And
course,
we've
of
seen a
course,
lot of other executives at other companies mention the same thing over the last 12
yes,
months.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Can I quickly just chime in
Yeah,
really
of
quick and
course.
say this is part of why I was encouraging Elon Musk to utilize Twitter Spaces for future earnings, calls and things like that for Tesla. In order to get other CEOs to do the same. And I've been to earnings calls with CEOs right here on Twitter. I think you're right, and I think that could lead to, a potential for revenue generation just through that.
right. Okay, I was wondering where you were going with that, Sarah. That's good looking out. So I think that it can be done in a way on Spaces that is kind of eluding the other social media platforms. So when you look at Spaces, like Terra, I mean, you've got thousands of people participating. Terra would be more incentivized if, let's say she hit a benchmark. I don't want to give away all my damn ideas here. Elon, hire me. But, let's say you were at 5,000. An option for an advertiser may appear. I mean, that would have to be engineered on the back end, but it would align with your audience, financial services products, for example. Let's say you got to 10,000 in a room, then a bigger or heavier ticket advertiser partner would appear as an option, and it would be dynamic. So you would be helping to deliver that message. It wouldn't just be a shitty post in the nest with an icon. We're over that. I think that there's some things engineering wise, if it can be accomplished, would just blow the water out of the advertising deadness of advertising that we used to know, but still allow brands to engage and reach.
For the just quickly, for two things for the audience, for everyone in the press, the YouTube video is about to upload. So I'll just tweet it out because I know a lot of you are waiting for the recording. So it should upload any minute if it hasn't already, and you'll see you'll see on Twitter. Otherwise, if any speaker wants to speak, DM me because I can't see speaker requests, and the team will check it.
Hey,
It looks
Obviously,
like
sorry, can
Evan
I just say
wants
one thing?
to.
yeah, Evan, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah,
Really
sorry.
quick, actually, Evan, before you go, really quick, I just wanted to bring up, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I did see people passing around screenshots of, Twitter already has a subscription program, but one where they're going to be incorporating Twitter coins. And I'm wondering if that's going to be something where they take a percentage of revenue that people generate through tips and subscriptions and things like that right here on Twitter.
Go ahead, Evan.
Cool. Yeah, sorry to bring this back up. This is why I didn't jump in, because it's like I'm just bringing back something that I was talking about like 20 minutes ago. But yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that I just think that there should be a place for people to discuss more, kind of like Spaces, but the sort of nuances of the reality of having discussion is not attractive. It's not exciting. So just making that somehow more attractive and exciting to people, and not just the extreme, blanket statements of whatever the topic is. I think that's something that deserves a bit of time to be worked on, and maybe there's not an easy solution, and it's not like I have one and I'm suggesting one, but I just wanted to point that out. And I do have to bounce soon because people in my life are wondering what the hell I'm doing right now. So
bro, you got to come back.
Wait, you have a life outside of Twitter, Evan?
yeah, everyone on this call is weird. Everyone needs to remember that we're all weird people. Like, why are on a Saturday, just like on Twitter Spaces, most normal people aren't doing this.
Yeah, of course. Who would, bro? Come on.
We need to cut
Tell
a
me.
grass.
If I ask anyone in the audience, would you like to go on a walk with your family, or would you like to speak to Elon Musk? We'll see how many people will
No,
vote for the
I'm not
walk.
saying that. I'm just saying, I know what you're saying. Like, this is really cool. I'm joking.
No, just joking, bro. We're joking, man.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to.
But guys, I want to kind of pivot the discussion. The second drop. Has there been any hints, and from what Elon said, what do you guys expect in the second drop? Do you expect it to get juicier, or we've seen most of the action already?
You mean in terms of a downside, like a decline?
No, I'm talking about the next, not
He's
drop,
talking about
the
the
leak,
files, the
the
Twitter
files.
files. I think it could potentially be even more exciting. I think they withheld some pretty powerful information that might be leaked in the next one.
And one thing I read is that the back door, let's call it a back door, was available for both the left and the right, or Democrats and Republicans, except the requests coming from Democrats were prioritized over the ones from Trump's office. Is that correct? I think I heard that in Tim's Tim was covering the drop in the leaks, or the whatever, the gate, Twitter gate, and that's one of the things he said. Is that correct, Tara, or any other speaker?
That's what he implicated yesterday, at least, Matt. He said that both Republicans and Democrat political parties had access to, request and remove, and they said Twitter honored those requests. However, more channels were given to Democrats. They had more opportunities to bring about those requests. But I'm interested specifically, in depersonhood, and how these people were not only deplatformed on Twitter and social media, but it extended to bank accounts. It wasn't just ruining their free speech, it was about ruining their lives. And so I'm really interested to hear every single lawmaker that was involved in removing tweets, and both Republican and Democrat. This isn't about party, this is about truth and justice. And finding out if there were other organizations and or NGOs that could have been funded by our government that was also asking Twitter to remove tweets.
Well, that was the first time I've ever heard of a back end for government officials. Can anyone explain that a little bit more?
Wasn't that Trevor? Have you gone through the docs? I haven't gone through them. I just listened to people covering the documents. Have you seen them?
I haven't read them thoroughly like that. I kind of
so maybe we'll refresh it. Ian, are you with us? I'm still glitching for you.
Oh, there he is. He's loading up, so maybe he's up here now. Yeah, Ian and Kim.com did an incredible job of just deciphering everything as it was happening real time yesterday. So hopefully Ian can hear us.
Ian, can you hear us? It's still not working. Let me see his DM. He's on stage, but I can't see any. We can't hear you, Ian, just FYI. But maybe Kim, are you on stage? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Oh, perfect. Do you want to give the audience an overview of the first, you and Tara and other speakers? You can just jump in, guys, because we cannot see hands that are up. It's glitching like crazy. But do you want to give the audience an overview of what were the findings from the first documents that were dropped yesterday? And then so that when the next drop happens, which could happen literally any minute, any second, or any hour, that people can understand episode 1.
Yeah, by the way, I invited Matt to join us. I'm still waiting for a reply from him. So
yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Matt is the one that did the drop for Elon. So he's a journalist, I think.
I think the most important thing about the release yesterday was that Elon released documents that clearly show that there was a collusion between a political party, the Democratic Party, the DNC, and the Biden team to coordinate a cover-up with Twitter about the release of the Hunter Biden laptop story from the New York Post. And of course, the goal here was to make sure that the election goals are not interfered with, that the Democratic Party can win the election and not have another event like with Hillary Clinton, where WikiLeaks released these emails that were very damaging for her campaign, that they don't have a repeat of that. So they went extremely aggressively to try and shut this thing down. They were, of course, supported in that effort by the US intelligence community. You all remember the statement released and signed by 50 intelligence officials claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop story is somehow Russian disinformation. The most evil deception of the American people, literally in the history of elections, so close before people are going to vote, to basically lie about this and turn this into some kind of misinformation, when we now know this was all truthful information. It wasn't even hacked. Hunter Biden gave the laptop to a repair shop, never showed up again to pick it up, never paid for it, and that is how it got legally into the public domain. So the media has really betrayed Americans. The intelligence community has betrayed Americans. And most importantly, the Democratic Party, Joe Biden himself, and the DNC have betrayed Americans. And the fact that this is now out in the public domain is going to lead to a lot of investigations, lawsuits. You will see lawmakers asking questions to the people that were involved in this under oath, and much more is going to come out about this. And we all have to be grateful that Elon, at great cost and danger to himself and his businesses, has opened the door for the truth to come out. And I think he will now have way more support in his goals to achieve free speech on Twitter, with all of this being out in the public domain.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now we know, Kim, as of yesterday, unequivocally, that the primary arbiters and those who made these accusations constantly of accusing others of misinformation were actually incredibly guilty of themselves by knowingly running with this false narrative that this is Russian collusion. And now we have I think the most important, one of the most important elements of what has been transpiring through these Twitter files is confirming kind of what a lot of us have suspected, but it's important for us to get that confirmation. I know Ian was talking about that earlier, and I know a few people, I think Sebastian, with all due respect, he was saying that this was a nothing burger. Well, I respectfully disagree. I think it's important to get this confirmation going forward. I think this is a real watershed moment in making progress in these regards.
Yeah, and I just can't. I'm a type of person that doesn't believe something unless it's proven as fact. Obviously, this is a good example of where this could go wrong. And I tend to not to blow things out of proportion, but I have to agree with you and most people here. For anyone that says this is not serious, doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you're on. If it's now the Democrats using that influence, later it could be the Republicans or whatever party. So it's, or could be not even a political party, it could be someone with a lot of money or a lot of influence. So whenever, brother, whoever's unmuted, just mute, please. All right, guys, whoever's unmuted, you got to mute. So it's important to remember this is not political in any way. I think free speech is part of a democracy, and as soon as you have, even if Elon, let's say Elon himself starts censoring people or banning opponents, everyone will oppose that, even if you love Elon, because that's, and I'm sure he won't do that, because that goes against the whole concept of free speech. So it's really important that it doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you're on, this will apply. And as long as there's influential people that have the ability to hush people, that is, a lot more serious than many of us would assume.
Can I just say, since my name was mentioned, listen to what Elon said today. He said he hasn't read the files. That's massively important. He doesn't know what's in them. He said he thinks there is a smoking gun. That's what he said tonight. Until we see the smoking gun, there is no evidence, okay? There is evidence of DNC collusion with Palo Alto. But for the crimes to be committed, we need more than I trust Barry Weiss. I mean, I'm totally with you. We need empirical evidence of felonies, otherwise action cannot be taken. That's all I'm saying.
Well, like I told you yesterday, Elon was well advised not to put out too many details, but just give us basically the broader picture. The details will then surface in all of the investigations, hearings, and subpoenas that will take place. There will be discovery of more details. And by the way, the second part of the story is still to come out. So, I don't share in your pessimism there. I think what we have learned from these releases in the Twitter files is very damaging for the Democratic Party, for Joe Biden, for the media, and the intelligence community that have all worked hand in hand to betray the American people.
But it's only damaging if there are consequences, and as long as the DOJ belongs to the same people who are colluding with Palo Alto and Twitter, there will be no consequences. So
it's one day after the release, so let's not jump to conclusion about consequences. We'll just have to wait and see.
No, but you're the one who said there will be consequences. You said it would be very damaging. It's only damaging if steps are taken.
You just confirmed that. You just said yourself, yes, it was damaging. So
No. If there are consequences, but who's going to follow through on the consequences? Because I tell you right now, Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell are not going to follow through on the consequences. As somebody who lives in DC and who worked in the Trump White House, I know you need to have a spine to follow through. My question is, who's going to follow through?
Well, there's also damages and consequences that aren't legal as well, just in trust in the American people. So I wouldn't say that there's zero content, there's no damages, even though ends up going to court for any reason. There's still those posts and those files in itself, and just the accusations made, right? There's damages already done. There's already consequences.
Yeah, I mean, all legalities aside, I think it is encouraging just in terms of changing the narrative and pretty much bringing more of the normies on board with a healthy sense of skepticism towards not only the legacy media, but all the collusion that has gone on between the Democratic Party and big tech. Wouldn't you say that's at least fair, Sebastian?
No, absolutely. And let me be very clear. It kind of blows my mind. I mean, I've met Elon. Elon was in the White House almost every week for the first 6 months. He was, very excited about the administration. But nevertheless, to have 94,000 people on a space with him for 2 hours, you've never seen that with a billionaire in world history. So, God bless him for that level of openness. But I am cynical because I've lived in DC. I've seen what they do to people who want to actually have transparency, and they will try to destroy him. However, I will disagree with whoever said it. I don't know if it was Tara, but we are not the weird people. It's the people who aren't on this call who are the weird people.
Do you think it's a bit overblown? I see just one thing, guys. I see a reporter. I don't want to call him out.
Elon. Oh, sorry, Mario. You've been rugging for me a little bit. I apologize for that.
Can you?
If I'm talking,
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Is he talking, folks?
We can hear him.
Mario's talking, Lala.
Oh, cool. Yes, I was going to say
I've got. Just call on me when.
So look at this by a journalist from CNBC. Again, I have nothing against CNBC. Just to be clear for anyone, I have no political position or agenda in any way. But this is the tweet. Elon Musk, who never seems to do any TV interviews with actual journalists asking tough questions, because we didn't ask tough questions, is doing a quote glitchy end quote Twitter space conversation with some fans right now. I'm not an Elon fan, never been. I'm not a fan of anyone. And then he says, I tuned in, listened to them discussing whether Musk is going to get assassinated, and then tuned out. I swear, we interview Elon for an hour, ask a million questions, and then all he listens to was a few seconds where we talk about him getting assassinated, which Elon mentioned. And he'll probably listen to the space, and CNBC will write a story about it, and then tunes out. I have nothing against.
Jelly.
It's just silly. I have nothing against mainstream media, but they just make it harder and harder every time. The New York Times was apparently writing a piece on me that was negative and then they canceled it because we got Sam's interview, Sam Bankman-Fried, before they did, but then Sam did New York Times afterwards. And then they started, they were not nice about it. So and again, I have nothing against New York Times, but these things just make it harder to love or to respect mainstream media. Again, this is one person speaking. He's not the CNBC, so maybe I don't want to take it against CNBC. But it's just a funny tweet that I saw. I think if he hasn't listened to the interview, he probably should. But I let the lady that was speaking and she couldn't.
Just real quick. just real quick, Mario, one quick update. The video of the recording of our space with Elon has been uploaded and has completed. So I've just tweeted out the link. I had a lot of DMs from journalists that were requesting the recording. So it's on the internet now. It's on my Twitter feed, and go ahead and grab it.
Perfect. Sorry, someone was speaking. I can't see who it was. So just jump in, guys. It was a gentleman and a lady
Hey,
speaking.
Mario.
Tara, do you wanna... Hi.
Yeah, it was me. Lala. This space is like rugging out hard for me. I can't hear Mario at all and can't really see him, so I apologize for interrupting earlier. I was going to make a comment on the consequences idea that we've been kind of discussing, and that's that I feel like we're only, able to hold people accountable to the point where we have mainstream media's cooperation. And that's depressing, but it's unfortunately true. And right now, I think that we are at this crossroads. Tara and I talked about this at length yesterday in her space about how we are at a crossroads, right? Where we are beginning to see something completely unprecedented in all of human history, which is we might actually get fair media and fair reporting from the people and accountability from the people, but we're not there yet. I mean, we have this groundswell of independent reporting, but we can't yet really compete with mainstream media. And so my concern for consequences even being applied here is that to have the kind of support necessary for politicians to take action or even legal action, this is going to need to break mainstream in some way. And I'm not seeing how we're actually able to overcome this. Even as you said, Mario, you've been so attacked by mainstream media putting down independent journalism and reporting. So that's my concern with this is we can have all the evidence in the world, but when are we going to get the amount of support and widespread public support necessary to push some of these things through?
Well, let me tell you, we're doing it right now. This is happening right now. Citizen journalism, people coming together, talking truth about what's going on. And let's be realistic here. When you look at the numbers that the mainstream media has these days, their viewership, their Twitter engagement, they're out the door. No one cares, It's really just a couple of old people that are still watching that garbage. What's going to happen with Elon setting free speech free on Twitter is that this is going to be the major hub for truth and information, and you will see a lot of more journalists, real journalists, investigative journalists making use of this new power, which is free speech on Twitter.
Especially if he keeps coming here, Kim, and that way the media and everyone have to come here. They won't get the information from interviews with Elon. They'll be coming here for the citizen journalists who are doing it live right here, like Mario, who, let me just say really quickly to everybody here, did a phenomenal job. I just have to commend you through all of the stress and through all of the glitching and all of that. Thank you so much, Mario, for the effort and, not stopping, not quitting and not giving up and just continuing to push along, even though there were times you weren't even able to speak with Elon directly and had to field questions through us. You held your own and you did an amazing job.
Tara,
And everyone,
we've been there since the early days. I want to give you credit as well. I know you did a marathon space as well, and you made all this happen, so you should get more credit than I.
Well, for the people who were frustrated with requesting, though, I just want you guys to know, be patient, please, because being a host on these things, when they're glitched and you cannot control who's able to come up and speak and share, there's nothing you can do. And Mario's hands are literally tied. So please do not blame him. Please do not hold it against him. It's a really difficult position to be in, and try to even field messages or do anything else simultaneously is nearly impossible. He broke Twitter records tonight, had over 100,000 people in this space. So just congratulations, Mario.
And Tara, you and Kim have been through so much since the early days. Kim was part of I think the first space I ever did, which was a crypto focused space. Kim was there. And here we are. And we remember the SBF, you were there for that marathon. Kim was there for that marathon. So we've been, anyone that hasn't been tuning into the spaces before, We've done a lot in the last month, haven't we, Tara?
Yes, lots of roller
Crazy.
coaster rides. And
Crazy.
honestly, the work you've done to help people and to remind people they're not alone, people who were struggling and in a really desperate situation during the FTX fallout, you held spaces for nonstop, hours after hours, to be there for people, and that is something that I don't think you've gotten enough credit for doing.
So we're gonna get more and more hate from the mainstream media as we do more and more. You know who the person that came up with the term citizen journalism? That was Elon. I remember that tweet he made after he came on the space the first time. He said citizen journalism, and now it's become a term that everyone uses. But yes, any other thoughts from the speakers on what we've heard so far, what we could expect from the second drop? Actually, I've got a question, and anyone could jump in. Like, a lot of people thought the Hunter Biden, and I want this to be bipartisan. Everyone thought the Hunter Biden laptop was, I think it was initially considered a cyber attack by Russia or misinformation by Russia, not cyber attack, misinformation, and obviously became reality. Now, obviously, a lot of theories will end up not being true, but obviously many of them, like this one, could end up being true. Any other theories that you'd expect either in the next drop or you think are related to this in some way and that could also be true, maybe censorship theories about other stories, other
I mean, the things that I assume are going to come out in the wash, maybe not in the second release, but who knows, is the shadow banning and also the kind of traffic algorithm that Twitter has deployed to make sure that people they didn't like didn't get visibility, that they didn't get followers, that they didn't get people to see their tweets in their timeline, and that to me is just as bad as what happened with the suspension of the accounts, because people were still trying to make an effort to put the truth out there and to be heard. And instead of them understanding that they are suspended, they were still, tweeting away, even though the algorithm and the software that was running in the background at Twitter made it impossible for their voices to be heard. And that is something that needs to be looked at as well. And I hope that that is part of the second part of the.
Well, Kim, I think it likely will be. Just reminding everyone, is almost 24 hours ago exactly now that Matt Taibbi tweeted this out. He said, "It's been a whirlwind, 96 hours for me too." That implies that he had been pretty much on a bender for the last 4 days combing through all this stuff. And he says, there's much more to come, including answers to questions about issues like shadow banning, boosting, follower accounts, the fate of various individual accounts, and more. These issues are not limited to the political right. So I think you're absolutely spot on there in what we can expect. Another thing, too, that has kind of been not a feature of shadow banning that really has kind of gone largely unnoticed, but has had a pretty insidious effect. I've seen a few content creators to talk about and address it, like Jimmy Dore, who has happened to him, certainly happened to me in the past as well, is follower count throttling. So what I started happening to me is that a lot of people started messaging me and saying, "Oh, I was unfollowed from you. I had to refollow again." So this is what was happening, in my opinion, to voices that were growing that they wanted to suppress the reach from, is actually as you're gaining new followers, is going back and having previous followers automatically unfollowed from your account, which is pretty interesting. I'll be curious to see if it sounds like he's probably going to get into that as well.
Yeah, the most appalling, just a second, the most appalling act of, filtering information in the algorithm that Twitter was using was how they stopped anything about Julian Assange getting any traction, neither his hashtags or any tweets that had his name in them. Everyone who's been following this case and has been speaking out for him can account to the same issue, that they all had no engagement in those tweets. And when a big tech company puts itself on the side of a government that wants to stifle free speech and wants to trample on the truth, for them to be an accomplice in destroying any chance for someone like Julian Assange to get the weight that he deserves in the public debate is criminal. And the people who were responsible for that, I want them to be known, and I want these people to be investigated, because that is such a shame and offensive to anyone who cares about the truth.
Tara, I think you were jumping in. It's
Yeah, go.
glitching for Tara. Yeah,
Go
whoever
ahead.
was jumping in, guys. Whoever was jumping in.
It was Tara before, but
it's glitching now. You can speak, bro.
It wasn't me.
Oh, there you go. It's
Yeah,
glitching.
Lala,
I
I
was gonna,
believe.
Oh, Lala.
yeah, I was
Lala,
gonna
go
chime
ahead.
in
Sorry,
on what
Lala.
Stephen was saying, actually. So, Stephen, I'm really curious for what's going to come out about some of these backroom deals with Twitter. Obviously, we've already kind of seen hints to it with the screenshots that have been revealed, but I think that it goes much, much deeper. I mean, even within, kind of the different niches and bubbles on Twitter, I'm primarily in the crypto NFT bubble, as many of you are. It's wildly apparent that there is favoritism, at least, but at worst, backroom deals going on to where certain people are promoted. Even if you don't follow these people, you'll get notifications every time they post, every time they speak in a space, etc. So I'm very interested in seeing more data come out about what kind of backroom deals are going on, not just with Twitter Blue or pushing people to the front of the line, but much deeper kind of agendas that are being pushed for specific individuals, and kind of where that responsibility lands. I'm very curious to see that come out.
Yeah, me as well. I can't help but think of names like Taylor Lorenz and folks like this to see. I suspect we'll probably get some interesting data related to specific favoritism to journalists like that. I can't imagine not.
Do you think we're seeing similar censorship happening in Europe, where there's similar backdoors to other governments? We saw Macron retweet or make a tweet supporting Elon and Elon's actions. I can't remember what the tweet said. So that was a good sign. But do you expect other leaks coming from Europe instead of the US?
Well, I'm not. Firstly, I'm not sure, but what I do know is that Elon did tweet something out earlier today that implied that there's likely data coming forth in the coming Twitter files to suggest that there have been some coordination on what would equate to election interference on the previous Twit administration as it relates to the elections in Brazil.
Administration?
In Brazil.
Oh shit!
In Brazil.
He actually mentioned that. Can you pin the tweet above?
Yeah, let me comb through it. Let me comb through his timeline to find it.
But how do you think that will impact other social platforms? Do you expect more whistleblowers to step up and we get similar leaks from other platforms? Because that could trigger a significantly bigger movement. And if enough of enough people care about this, then you'll have policymakers be forced to attack when there's enough people that are supporting a certain cause. So I'm not sure whether that will trigger such a movement or whether it will be silenced and it will just be short-term noise. Don't know.
Yeah, it could have a very cascading effect, no doubt.
Kim, any updates with I think it was Matt to come on stage and give us hints on the next job?
I think he's probably busy working on the next release. Yesterday it came out at 5 p.m. or shortly after 5 p.m. My time, which is another 2.5 hours from now. So I do expect that there will be more coming later today, and the fact that he's not replying probably says that he's working on it.
Okay, so I've got someone here that's analyzed that has. Okay, so any insiders that want to come on stage? We've had a lot of insiders or whistleblowers on stage for the FTX saga, and we've done a pretty good job covering identities. So if there's any insider that wants to come on stage, please DM us. The team is checking all DMs. Obviously, we'll have to verify everything. It's really important. But Piotr, are you on stage, Piotr? Or is glitching for you as well? Fuck, it's glitching for Piotr as well. Kim, don't be sad. It's glitching for Piotr.
Hey Mario, are you able to hear me?
Hey Steven. Yeah, man. I didn't know you're on stage.
It's Brian here.
Oh shit! I can see Steven. It's all glitching for me. Sorry, bro.
No worries.
I'm over here.
No worries. Have you got? I'm I'm gonna shoot you a DM real quick. We got somebody that's trying to get a hold of you. They're DMing me. I'll send it to you also, Tara. They're trying to get a hold of you as well.
Okay, yeah, please do. And I'm gonna go through. I think the team is behind. I'm just check DMs for. Okay. All right, so I've told the team to start checking DMs because I think we're a bit behind. So let's see if there's any insiders that DM'd us. What's your username, Brian? Let me.
Screenshot so you know who it is and the message.
Yeah, what's your username, man?
Myself. This is Crypto B513.
Oh shit, it's you. Okay, what's up, man? It's been a while. I can't. My screen is glitching. All right, man. Send me a screenshot. I'm looking at your DMs now.
Yep, gotcha.
I send it. Are you sending it to me on WhatsApp? I know you have my number.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send it over to WhatsApp.
Okay, man. I'll have the team verify it, and then we'll bring that person on stage. Any other insiders that want to come up while we're waiting for the next drop, please do DM us, and yeah, we keep things hush hush, but we will need to verify anything that you claim. But are there any other speaker that wants to speak? Just jump in. Trevor, I see you jumping in. Guys, don't put your hand up because it's glitching. So I know a lot of you might have your hand up. And anyone that wants to speak as well, remember, it is glitching. I'm trying to bring Ian on stage, which I'm sure will work eventually. So you could just DM us and we'll bring you up. But yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anyone has any expectations or any guesses as to what the next files will include.
Yeah, I think someone made said that there's a hint that it could include Brazilian election interference. I think that was one of the hints dropped. I think there's a hint, Tara or Kim, correct me if I'm wrong. Was there a hint by Elon, because I researched this today after waking up and seeing your explosive space tower, I started researching it. Was there a hint that, he did make it clear that it's both sides that are involved in this, and that the next drop will include things from the Republican Party, or I got that completely wrong?
Well, what's been indicated so far, yeah, I think we are going to see a level of Republican collusion, but I don't think it's going to be, from what we've been told, nearly to the extent that has happened with the Democratic Party and the DNC. In relation to the Brazilian bit, I did pin a tweet from Elon at the top from just earlier, technically earlier today at 4:40 a.m. his time. He tweeted out.
And can you tell me more about the something to do with child, I think it was child pornography or pedophilia or something along those lines, where Elon's taking a lot of action. Can you just give me clarity on that? That's one thing I haven't looked into. In the meantime, I'm inviting the insider that Crypto B513, I think it's Matt or whoever. What was your name? Sorry, sir. Sent me. So I'm inviting her now, man. But yeah, if you can give us clarity on fighting child. What's the term?
Child exploitation.
Child exploitation. There you go. Can you tell us more on what that fight includes and what has been released so far by Elon or Elon's tweets or the documents?
That's not my area of specialty, honestly.
Has anyone looked into it? I'm just trying to invite a speaker, but I'd love to know more about this.
Yes, I have. It's Eliza Blue who we need up here. So if she's still listening, Eliza, if you're available and can request and come up. I know she said she was busy earlier, or she would have, but she said the new CSE, which is Child Sexual Exploitation Report, is amazing. She's the one who has been working for years trying to get Twitter to remove certain content that they refused to remove, to the point that advertisers were actually sent a letter. This was obviously prior to Elon Musk's takeover, stating that their ads had run side by side with this CSE material. They had to send their advertisers that letter, which is, wrong on every level. And then the material was still there. So it took Elon Musk taking over and 1 month to get rid of material that she's been trying to get rid of for years.
And any idea why? Because I think most people would agree exploiting children, or exploiting anyone really, but exploiting children is something that is bipartisan agreement that this is a bad thing. Was it just laziness, or is there more to it? Like, what do we know, and then what is so? Like, if we can split what we know and what we speculate, it would be great because I'm really curious on this one.
Yeah, she's hoping that in the next drop that they may release some of that information and who
What's
was actually
her handle?
benefiting. It's
What's her
Eliza,
handle?
ELIZABLEU. Eliza Blue. So she's hoping that in the next drop, or at least maybe in the future, they will release that information and who benefited, who profited off of, this exploitation material.
Eliza Blue. I'm inviting her out. She has an icon of sunglasses and blonde hair, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Lavender.
I've just invited. Yeah, if someone could, Lavender. So if someone could just DM her, tell her I've invited her, in case she doesn't see it. I'd love her to be on stage while I try to bring up Ian as well. In the meantime, for the press, the YouTube, the link that was sent. So Kim, the link that I sent you was wrong. The new link is going to be available in a few seconds. So I'll just send it to you again, the full link, the full interview. So I'll send you that new link again. Keep the one you have now, and then just tweet the next one, and then remove this one, so they've got the right one. So it should be in a few seconds, Kim. I'll send it out to you. So for the press, sorry guys. But yeah, Elizabeth, or Eliza, I've sent her an invite. But if anyone has more context on this, more information, if there is more information that was released, that would be great. No one
I
knows
also
more
see
about
that Died Suddenly is trying to come up, the documentary. I have tried to accept their request and it's not allowing me to, but they would have probably had a lot of good information to add to this space.
Tara, you'd need to take one speaker down in order to do it.
Is there 13 speakers on stage? I don't think so, man.
I see max. It's maxed out right now.
Oh shit, is it? All right, let's clear it up. And then we'll have. So if anyone would like to drop down, that would be great because I cannot remove people. Okay,
I will.
Think so. Yeah, now it's working. Cool. Yeah, it's working, guys. So if we can, Nak, if you can accept her now, and maybe the invites would work now. Maybe that's why Ian is not coming up. So now it should work, and we could have Eliza come in. So Eliza, if you're listening to us, it should work. The invite should work now.
Ian is up, by the way, in case you can't see him.
I don't think he can hear us though.
Can you hear
Ian,
me?
can you hear us? Yeah, it's glitching, bro. He's DMing me that it's glitching. No, but if you could remove Kim or Tara, if you can remove Ian from the stage, so then we could. Actually, I know what to do. Oh, I've done it now. I've kicked him out completely from the space, and I'll bring him back in. And
my app is completely glitched, by the way. I can't do anything. Like
it happens. Yeah, it happens. It happens every time we hit record numbers. And what could happen? What you can do? Try this. Anyone that's glitching for you, try to log in from a different phone. That would work. By the way, anyone that might, if you leave the space, you can't come back in. Just FYI, guys, don't try it. A lot of people that left the space couldn't come back in. So it's another glitch. And eventually what will happen, it's happened before, the glitch or the space will just die. By the way, there's Died Suddenly. Is that the documentary?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. Died Suddenly. What was your name? Sorry. The person behind the account.
I'm Edward Zahl. I'm one of the producers with the movie.
Edward, pleasure to meet you. Tara, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions, or do you want to take the mic?
Oh, no, you go for it. Please do.
Edward, tell us more, man. What's the documentary about?
Well, the documentary explores, I think, a phenomena that many of us have unfortunately endured over the last year. So a lot of our loved ones have passed away unexpectedly, suddenly, and especially after rolling the dice with the vaccine. The documentary explored not just this mystery, but also what could be an explanation behind it. I think we went into Malthusian theory, which is a concept that the world's overpopulated, and of course a lot of the characters that many of us in conservative media spend a lot of time talking about seem to be obsessed with this concept. So I was a producer on the movie, and of course our guests in the movie are really the big story. But the thing I would have really raised, I guess, to Mr. Musk would have been the censorship that we endured, and of course the many wonderful doctors before us, Dr. McCullough and others that have been silenced online for questioning the shot. So I think that's a big question right now about Twitter and the amnesty, of course.
So you mentioned something about oh shit, I think Eliza's up as well, and just trying to bring up Ian. But I want to ask you a question. So you said something about overpopulation. Can you elaborate on this? Is that the actually, I want to guess what it is. Do you mind elaborating on what that is?
Sure. It's sorry, I'm so used to speaking in a manner that doesn't get you banned, right? You're on these platforms.
Oh, okay. So this is the vaccines being used for that, but which is something I love this discussion because I disagree with that theory, which makes it even, and I think Kim agrees with it. So it just makes it even more interesting. And you faced a lot of issues with censorship based on that, because I think anyone that was anti-vaccines was being censored. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We were experiencing shadow banning, and as thing as Kim has mentioned, we have many questions about the algorithm at Twitter, because I think we got the term "died suddenly" to trend globally, but it still wouldn't pop up for many people. Had a hard time even accessing the video, and this is a question: if it's a silly theory, then let people weigh it. Let people weigh it. Don't just hide it from people.
I have a question for you. So now I'm not talking about what your documentary talks about. I want to make a general statement, and I actually mean it. I'm not implying anything about what your documentary is about. As a general statement, I've been asking this question a lot in the last few days. So, would you agree there is a place for censorship? But I know what I have points against it, but I would say like we all don't want to see obviously child exploitation or heads getting chopped off. So there are some things. Would you agree there are some things that should be censored? Correct?
I do believe that there shouldn't be child pornography. There shouldn't be exploitation, and yeah, I would agree with that.
So and then the other argument though is that at the thing is that who censors? Because it's not machinery, it's humans, and humans have a lot of imperfections and reasons they might censor things they don't agree with, as we saw with the Hunter Biden laptop and other things. So the question is, where is that line? And to add on to that question, should misinformation be censored at all, or zero? Like, where should one draw that line? Would you and do you think a solution could be having AI giving, because AI is objective, at least I hope so, and giving AI the opportunity, but then again, AI can't be objective because it's designed by humans. So how do we draw a line, or should there be no line on misinformation at all?
Aha, you've asked probably the most important question of life itself, right? I would say I'm a Christian, so I would say that the Bible and Jesus Christ would be my guideline for what's right and wrong. In respect to AI and humans which program it, I think that we will never solve many of these issues using artificial intelligence programmed by humans trying to logically process through some of the things which are impossible for us to even answer. I think the biggest answer to your question is simply what is right and wrong. What do we want to do in society that would progress life, preserve humanity, and grow the Western Hemisphere and the world at large. I think what Elon Musk has said, he said a couple of things which were there are definitely things that are refreshing. There are subjects I think that we have to address as a whole, and the question of what we do with systems which enable evil. Even for like my atheist friends, they would agree that abuse of children would be considered evil. What do we do? Our answer from the church is we have to use the moral compass. We have to use what Jesus Christ told us to do.
Okay,
I
so
think really quick,
go ahead,
Mario,
Dara.
if I can just mention that when Died Suddenly had put up their documentary, within about an hour, I believe, flagged by Twitter, and you were able to share it or comment like it for misinformation is what they had flagged it as. Right away, we began tagging Elon, and it was reversed within, I'm not sure how long, but it wasn't much longer, and then we were able to retweet and share. So it may have been AI that did that, or whatever algorithms are already in place on Twitter that haven't been replaced.
What's that about? What's that about? What was that? What tweet got banned and
It
then
was the
unbanned
Died
or blocked?
Suddenly documentary. It was the actual
Oh,
documentary
okay.
that they had tweeted.
Yeah,
So
Mario, go ahead, Mario. Sorry to interrupt. I mean to interrupt you.
no, not at all, man. You're too nice. Like I wanted to go back to that question. Like, let's say there's someone spreading a story that there's let's say Russia sent a nuclear weapon towards the US and we got to attack all Russians immediately. I'm just making up a really crazy story. Or every Chinese person on the planet is
Careful,
the
because that's
devil.
not so crazy.
No, I'm just okay. Every Chinese person or every whatever religion, anything. I'm just saying something crazy. If there's something that we all know is complete nonsense and it's misinformation, and it's starting to spread, and people are starting to believe it. Okay, so let's say it's a certain religion that's being painted in a very negative light, or a certain nationality, and everyone's believing that story, that this religion or whatever, they're dragons or evil or whatever, something completely stupid, and they're believing it and they're acting on it, and they're starting to cause harm to those people based on pure misinformation, that we know behind the scenes that it's misinformation, but it's being spread by, let's say, I'm going to take it even a step further, artificial intelligence to cause dystopia. I think Andreessen Horowitz tweeted something similar yesterday or today. So my question to you would be, and any other speaker, and including Tara, of course, is that, like, this is misinformation, it is causing harm. Should that be censored? And if yes, doesn't that put us in a predicament on where to draw the line?
Well, that was my point, Mario, is that it was being censored as misinformation, but was quickly corrected by, I believe, Elon Musk himself or whoever he may have gotten in touch with to fix that. I can't say for sure, but we all began, tagging him, including Kim, and letting him know what happened, and then it was reversed. So what I was going to say is he definitely seems to be driving Twitter in more of making it more of a democracy where the users actually have input on what, is misinformation. I mean, he already implemented community notes just to do that.
Well, I'd answer you, Mary, would say that I think an informed populace is the best defense against misinformation. I don't think for a second that we should have artificial intelligence or any one individual decide what is misinformation. And the scenario that you're presenting, often, I think historically, we've had plenty of situations where the world's been on the brink of destruction and war and
Remember
attack.
there was
But
one stage as well where people that were a bit odd or that had some sort of condition were considered witches and being burnt to death. So obviously that's a really long time ago and it's pretty insane, but like, this is misinformation. Like, hey, anyone that has this condition, I'm not going to name any conditions, is actually a witch and they should be burnt. That's the only way to get them cured. Again, something stupid. If that something similar spreads now, should we responsibly block such information? Should we note it as misinformation? And if so, that could escalate to abuse of power, no?
Well, let's use a modern example. Look at ISIS. There's many origins to ISIS. You could point to Operation Timber Sycamore as one of the origin, or you could point to Wahhabist Islam as an origin. But what we do know is it fell. The caliphate, the ISIS caliphate, fell because it was unable to continue, to derive support and resources from the populace. And you could say that they were spreading a form of misinformation. It didn't require an AI censor to come in there and to get rid of ISIS from crucifying Christians and others in that territory. What ended up fixing the remedy in this case, the remedy was the response from the people. I would say that it is never right to artificially enforce censorship. I think this notion of misinformation, what's misinformation, that's really the biggest part about Twitter files, isn't it? Is that everything that conservative media, I see a lot of the big heads in the chat, many people that would have been on Twitter 2 years ago even, that were raising the voice about Hunter Biden's laptop and the decrepit things in it. We were called conspiracy theorists. We were said that we were
Bro, I
agents
would have believed that. I'm telling you, I would have believed that it's a conspiracy theory. This is the and many conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories. Others are not, which just makes it such a tough thing.
Hey, Mario, one quick thing. Can you please ask your team to upload the video to Rumble? Rumble will be immune against any kind of censorship. The YouTube link disappeared, so let's just make sure we put it on Rumble. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got. So now the team's going through. I will do that. I'll tell them they're listening to this space, so they're going to do it. So team, upload it to Rumble as well, and YouTube should be up in a few minutes. So I'm seeing now speakers that want to come up. By the way, the gentleman from the documentary. So I'll give you the mic right after. And Eliza, I see your hand up. Eliza and Persistence, you have to jump in because we can't see all hands up all the time. It's really glitchy. So I'll let you just jump in after I just say this one thing. So Amy from Parler, Legal at Parler, I'm going to bring you up. And anyone else that wants to speak, please DM us, and the team is checking them and telling me, because that's the only way I can invite you is if you DM us and I'll send you an invite. And the invite, you'll get it via DM. So yeah, sorry, I'll let the documentary gentleman to answer make his point, and then obviously Eliza and Persistence. And Kim, I've told about Rumble, I've told him now.
Well, thank you so much. Just even for the opportunity to speak, I would simply leave with this point, is that I think the society would be best to correct itself rather than through artificial means, censorship from technological oligarchs, techno kings in this sense. I think that we have the tools, especially with the internet and with a vast amount of knowledge now, to fact check ourselves and let society kind of warrant out and pluck out those who are agents of misinformation. I would like to see an end to censorship. I think it's going to be our downfall, whether it be anyone like Ye or Nick Fuentes or anyone else who's been banned as a high-profile individual. I think we need to end it. Let society have a debate about these issues. And Died Suddenly, if you haven't seen it, it's a documentary of our generation. So you can check it out on our page if you'd like. Take care.
Eliza, mic is yours. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. First, I'd like to say I'm so sorry because I have a cold and I'm at work, so I got to be in and out quickly. But I wanted to thank everyone so much for the support. For those that don't know, my name is Eliza. I'm a survivor advocate for those affected by human trafficking, and I am also a survivor of human trafficking. And I'm getting emotional because I've been fighting this issue of child sexual abuse material and child sexual exploitation on Twitter for years. And much like many of you in here, I'm also a free speech absolutist, and I've always believed that opening up Twitter, not focusing on the censorship of words and ideas, but focusing on removing the real human rights violation of child sexual abuse material and child sexual exploitation at scale was something that was really gonna change this world and make it a better place, but especially Twitter. And so I didn't know if you guys asked me to come in, so I just wanted to pop in. This has been a very emotional day because we're starting to see some of the progress and the numbers and the data roll in from the new Twitter under an Elon Musk leadership. And these are numbers, and this is progress that I never thought would be possible in my lifetime. And it's just, sorry, it's just extremely moving, and I'm just grateful to see this moment. So if you guys don't have a question of me, thanks Kim.com for bringing up Assange. I'm huge on free press, freedom of expression, and whistleblower protection. I love, Snowden and folks like that. But yeah, if you guys didn't have a question, that's all I really had to say.
I have a question for you, Eliza.
Sure,
Can you
yeah.
tell us more what's changing in terms of child exploitation?
Sure.
What was the struggle you were facing before, and how is Elon changing that, and why did it take so long?
Well, this is a well-documented problem for well over a decade. I have, if folks want to go to my pinned tweet, if you scroll down just a little bit on my pinned tweet, you can see a Guardian article from the Guardian for well over a decade ago. Unfortunately, Elon Musk inherited a lawsuit with 2 minor survivors currently suing Twitter. This is a landmark case for Twitter. This was child sexual exploitation material that was on Twitter. It received over 160,000 views and over 2,000 retweets. Twitter refused to remove this content as the minor survivor begged on the brink of suicide. With government photo identification, he provided government photo identification to Twitter, and they refused to remove it. The Department of Homeland Security had to step in to have this child sexual abuse material removed. So they wrote him back and told him that they wouldn't remove it. You can also see that in my pinned tweet as well. So that's sort of what set me off on this. Folks like to call it a crusade. I don't know what I call it. It is kind of a crusade. But the story of John Doe 1 really broke my heart so much. And once I started unpacking and unfolding a little bit of what was going on, long story short, there are a lot of people in this room. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Twitter had always put profits over the lives of minor survivors. And when folks think about this problem on Twitter, they're not thinking about it at scale. They're not thinking about this. Okay, I'll give you for instance. So in the last 24 hours, Twitter, as reported today by Andreas Strapa, has removed 44,000 in the last 24 hours, 44,000 profiles off of Twitter, promoting, selling, and exchanging in child sexual exploitation. So that's kind of the numbers that we're looking at. So 44,000 before would have been about what they would have removed a month. And they've just removed that in the last 24 hours. So the highest I ever saw them remove was 57,000 profiles in 1 month. So just to give an indicator of how well they're doing right now, this is like unbelievable. These are the types of numbers that I just didn't think were possible, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for this.
And how were those numbers under the previous previous ownership when Twitter was public before Elon? What were the numbers of daily accounts being removed, or weekly or monthly? Like, has it increased a lot? Is it about the same? Has it decreased?
Yeah, maybe I didn't explain that correctly. So they've removed 44,000 profiles in the last 24 hours. That is about what they would have removed in a month under previous leadership. They were previously removing about 37,000. The most I saw was 57,000 in a month. So they're removing in a day, 24 hours, what it took them a month under previous leadership to remove.
And do we have any information on why that is, and what is the source of that information?
Sure. So Andreas, well, there's a few things, but if you go to my profile, Andreas Strapa, who is working with Twitter, Trust and Safety, put out a report today. He's also the data scientist that put out the report in September through Reuters. But now he is working with Twitter on this issue, and I'm very, very excited. Very excited. But if you go to my profile and just scroll down, sorry, I tweet a lot, especially about this, but I mean, you can kind of see it all there. And then also too, Elon has commented on Andreas' report today. So this is all verified from Elon as well.
That's insane. I didn't even know that was that big of an issue. I'm just not keeping up with the news.
Let me explain, because when I start saying this, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no, please do, please do.
When I start talking about this, folks are like, "Oh, I've never seen it, so it must not be happening." Like, well, okay, I've never seen a murder, but I believe that they happen. The truth is that there's this dark underbelly of Twitter, and the average person isn't hanging out on the dark underbelly of Twitter, right? We're like hanging out, talking about politics, and sharing pictures of our cats. But because the platform has been so dead set on censorship and navigating speech, thoughts, ideas, and boosting certain people and pulling other people down, they weren't focusing on this dark underbelly of Twitter. And there should have been a line. And it's been pretty incredible for me along this journey, because when you look at the numbers and data of child sexual abuse material and child sexual exploitation as opposed to terrorism, the numbers aren't even comparable globally. You're looking at 45,000 profiles removed a month for child sexual exploitation and child sexual abuse material, as opposed to like 5,000 profiles removed a month for terrorism on average.
That's insane. That's insane. I had no, and is that the same? By the way, just again, I want to remind speakers that you want to speak, DM us, and we'll send you an invite via DM. I see a lot of great names. I would love to have you on stage. The press, the video is about 4 minutes away. I know we had to delete the other one because it was wrong. 4 minutes, it was not the full interview. 4 minutes away, and you'll see it on my YouTube and my Twitter profile, Kim's, and I'm sure others will tweet it as well. So you could listen to the Elon Musk interview, because there's a lot of I know a lot of you are waiting because there's a lot of big things that were said. Eliza, back to you. First, I'm just shocked about how big of an issue that is. But it's not only on Twitter, I assume, because Twitter is a fraction of the size of Meta, for example.
No. Yeah, I mean, of course not. Each platform has their own problems, right, with this child sexual abuse material. So there's another caveat here as well. I'm also huge on digital privacy rights. So my issue has always been, if Twitter continues to let this go and doesn't remove it at scale, the governments will step in and infringe on innocent citizens' digital privacy rights in order to solve this issue. This is what we do not want. So this is something that's extremely important to me. When I'm talking to folks and this is a new concept to them, I just remind them of what happened here in the United States with the Patriot Act. We do not need the Patriot Act 2.0. We do not need to make nations or a world of slaves to a surveillance state in order to solve this issue. You do not make nations of slaves to solve one crime. So this has been an issue that Twitter has needed to innovate to get around. That's why I cried when I got on here, because I'm so moved at how much change has happened under an Elon Musk leadership, and I was prepared to fight Elon on this issue. I know that everyone can tell folks behind the scenes I was not kissing his ass. I don't care who's in charge. Any of the last CEOs could have gotten this shine. It just so happens that all of these changes have happened under an Elon Musk leadership. So he's going to get the shine. He's going to get the praise. That's it.
And you've avoided to tell us. Go ahead. Sorry, anyone could jump in. So
Yeah,
whoever's jumping in, please.
Mario, it's Sphinx. I just want to comment on what Eliza said. This isn't why I came up, but now that you mention it, I do want to say this. I thought that Elon bought Twitter just for pure profit purposes, but I see that he's not
breaking. Elon just made the tweet. He says, "I'm not expressing an opinion, but did promise to conduct this poll. Should Assange and Snowden be pardoned?"
You did
that is all because of this space and you,
everyone
Kim.
go and vote.
Well done.
Go and vote, baby.
This
is
is
big.
insane. And the video's out. They're also breaking. The video's out. The interview's out for all the press. Another 2 breaking news. I wish Chet was here, but he's not able to come up on stage. The interview just came out finally. So tweeted. Let me see if they've tweeted it. Is it on my profile yet? Kim, you on Twitter? Oh, let me send you the link. Shit, sorry, Kim. Let me send the link to Kim as well. And we have 2 things. We have Kim's poll and the interview that is still not tweeted. Let me see.
I just have to say, the fact that YouTube already removed the video just goes to show you how important Twitter is right now for allowing free speech.
No, we need to clarify here. So the video was
the video's removed by the tween. Yeah, it's us to blame. They posted the wrong video and then they removed it, and now they posted the right one. And the tweet is on my profile. So if you want to check it out,
you can. Okay. I was under the impression that YouTube was censoring the content.
Yeah, no, it's I've already texted to you, Kim, so you can see it. There you go. It's on my profile and it's on Kim's profile as well, I hope. Kim, can I
really quickly just reset the room and remind people to retweet the space if you're enjoying what you're hearing in here? That way other people can join.
I don't think it will work. I think no one, which is crazy how good our numbers are, because that's just retention. Because I don't think anyone could see the space. I've had a lot of people that just cannot see the space. So this is, if you leave the space, you cannot join again, which is pretty cool and pretty unique. Makes it more special. So yeah, I've just pinned but you could try. Might work for some people. And I've also pinned, Tara, I've pinned the video above in the space. So for anyone in the press, you could enjoy that, the interview with Elon. Kim, did you tweet it as well so you can pin it above? I sent you the link a while ago, Kim. But also I want to say to Eliza, I know you were very emotional earlier. Not only are you getting the word out there and there's action being taken, you're speaking on stage right after Elon, the same stage that Elon spoke at, about this issue and bringing awareness to it. So
yeah, this has been a wild journey. I didn't get into this. It's not a glamorous thing to talk about. It's not fun to talk about. It's not ever been fun to talk about, but it's been an honor and a privilege to serve my fellow survivors. It really has. And I don't know if it'll get much better than this, but anyway, so I'm just so grateful. And thank you so much to everybody who has supported this. And to folks where this information is new, please go check out my profile. My pinned tweet has a lot of information. And I always try to update about this issue because this is the one issue where the vulnerable populations cannot vote. They have no money. They can't speak for themselves. They don't have these big groups out here that are advocating for them, like the ACLU. There aren't these big groups out there advocating for these minor survivors of Twitter. And I know it's a horrible topic, but I can tell you this: if we do not pay attention to this issue now, the governments will step in and violate our digital privacy rights in order to solve this issue. So it's best to encourage Elon, Twitter, and the other platforms to remove this at scale through innovation. And that's my message. And thank you so much. And to any survivors out there that are listening, I love you. I know this is a heavy topic. So if this conversation at all has struck a chord with you, please reach out to one of the hotlines, like the human trafficking hotline, domestic violence hotline, the national sexual assault hotline. You are not alone. And as far as Assange goes, yes, free Assange, free Snowden. I was one of the speakers in front of the DOJ advocating for Julian Assange in October, and I will keep advocating for Julian Assange until he is free. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you for being here, Eliza. Really appreciate you. How's the poll looking? Kim dropped off, so I've just invited him. Eliza, if you can pin above also the numbers that you mentioned, the hotlines, for anyone listening, it'd be great. Kim, I've just sent you through a co-host invite, so you want to accept it. It'd be good. And Piotr, are you there before I go to Tara? Piotr, are you with us? Okay, it's glitching for Piotr as well. Tara, what's the poll looking like, the poll by Elon?
I was just commenting on it and saying, a comment just based on things that were said here, just that the witch hunt for conveyors of truth only inhibits others from blowing the whistle on the establishment. And that's exactly what's happening with Assange and Snowden. And so far, it's 80-20. For yes, 80% yes, 20% for no, and almost 200,000 votes.
Just checking it out. And is there any indication from Matt on when the next? It could just come any minute. That's the thing. I wish it was scheduled so we know when. But is there any indication of when the next leak will be? Tara, anything at all?
I have no information at all.
Just checking now.
Yeah. If anyone does or has information or any contact with Matt, let us know.
Kim, you're back up. Kim, I think sent him an invite to come on. So
it looks like he was responding to Elon, and it probably glitched him out of the space. To be honest, it's just so buggy.
Yeah, let me invite him again and try to bring up. We've got a lot of speakers trying to request. And what will happen soon? So what happens now, and we have had this happen before, is that because we reach such big numbers and so much data, and we've been going on for so long, is that new people can't join. It starts glitching to bring up speakers. You can see Kim, we're trying to bring him up now. And then eventually it will crash. It happened to us a lot because we do marathon spaces. Tara, you've been there, you've seen it crash. Did yours crash yesterday, Tara?
It sure did, yeah. After 10 hours, nearly 10 hours. I think it was 9 hours and 45 minutes or so.
Oh shit, you didn't even stop it. It actually crashed?
Yes, it crashed.
That's insane. All right, I'm bringing up Kim, I'm bringing up Piotr, and I'm bringing up a few special guests.
I honestly can't wait. I don't want your space to crash and I don't want to jinx it, but I can't wait for it to end so we can see the numbers. I am so curious at what sort of records you broke today with this space.
Stop saying you. It has to be we. You're not allowed to say
you
anymore. You're not allowed to say
Elon.
You're not allowed to say we.
Elon.
You're the reason I did this space. When I saw your space and all the craziness around it and how serious this is, that's what got my attention. Because today I was planning to take this weekend off after a pretty crazy week and Sam Bankman-Fried's interview, and then this happens. So you're the reason this is happening. You're the reason Elon came on stage. Obviously Kim as well, who should be with us any minute. Yeah, it's been pretty damn incredible. It'll be cool to see what the press writes about this.
I'm ready to just apply for a job with Twitter. I mean, it's not far from me, so I think I'm just gonna go and get a job.
You should. All right, so I've sent you a co-host invite, Kim. You got to accept that. And I'll send you a speaker invite as well. I've sent you a speaker invite as well, so you can accept either one, Kim, so you can come up on stage. And let's see if our special guest will come in. I want to see who's on stage. Sebastian, Lala, and Persistence. Are you on stage, or is it dead for you as well? And died suddenly. Who's on stage from you guys? Sebastian's with us. Sebastian, you with us?
Yeah.
I'm glad you are. Lala and Persistence, are you with us, or glitched for you as well? This is crazy.
Yeah, I'm here. And you know what? I just wanted to make a comment. I don't know if Eliza is still in the audience or listening in, but it's so amazing that up until this point, if you even bring up child exploitation on any social media platform and attempt to fight against it, you're almost labeled as some sort of anti-sex worker extremist. Melissa McCarthy dropping Exodus Cry comes to mind, right? And so we've had such an uphill battle for survivors and for advocates. And it really is a beautiful thing. I think, Tara, the fact that you were able to directly mention to Elon Musk and commend him about the child exploitation issue right off the bat. I mean, we need more emphasis on this now more than ever. So we are gaining momentum, and I just wanted to chime in on that.
Yeah, it's a very taboo topic, and
Why
honestly
is it
something
taboo though, Tara?
very personal.
Why is it
Well, I
taboo?
mean, no one wants to talk about it, and there are plenty of victim survivors who, are victims or survivors, whichever they want to refer to themselves as. I know Eliza refers to herself as a survivor who, don't want to share and don't want to talk about it because it's very personal to them. It's very private to them. But for someone like her to step up and do it and use her platform to be so brave is just incredible. And I just want to second everything that Lala just said and appreciate so much the fact that Elon has gone above and beyond to make sure that that was one of the very first things he, actually, I think it was the very first thing he targeted when he took over Twitter. And the media has failed to recognize him in that regard. And it is such a shame.
So I do want to say something important, everyone. What we will do is what a lot of you want to do, and that's restart the space. So then we can start inviting people again because we can't invite anybody anymore. So Kim told me just, Mario, stop the space, restart it again. And if Tara approves, I will do it because I listened to Kim. So the new space is ready. It's pinned. We'll give it some time for people to set their reminders. We'll start it immediately afterwards. So if you look at my profile, it's pinned there. I've also shared it in the space already, 10,000 people registered. So I'm gonna end this one. So everyone listening, I'm gonna end this one and start a new one. You can join it immediately. Let's see how many people join. If we hit what percentage join, it's usually about 70%. So it's gonna be done now.
Mario, we might have success getting Matt Taibbi in there as well. So
Bro,
since
if
he
we got
probably
Tara,
wasn't able to join.
if we got Elon, I'm sure we'll be able to get Matt and others. There's a lot of people that were requesting to speak. Gonna be surprised. All right, everyone. So we're gonna do it now. In a few seconds, this space will end and a new one will start. It's pinned above. So let's all count down. Tara, you count down from 5. Go ahead, Tara. Count down, Tara. You ready?
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Go
are you
from
ready?
5 to 0,
5,
and then I'll end it.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. See you everyone in a few seconds, and the new